Welcome back to another episode of the Clappy and Frank Show. Please like and subscribe. Today we have with us a really awesome guest, Sam Stern. For anybody that's around the Chabad circles, Sam Stern is a very, very popular family-valued man, big philanthropist, savvy investor, larger-than-life personality. Sam, I want to ask you a question. How do you have the most amazing charisma, and also you hold yourself with such a strong dominance and confidence level that I've never seen before?
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. And hopefully we're going to have fun doing this. And more importantly, hopefully some of your viewers will come away with something that they could learn that could be a life lesson that can help them in their journey in life, whether it's in career, family, success, etc. To answer to your question, first of all, I've like everybody else, I've made many mistakes. And the most important thing is to own up to those mistakes. And I always tell people that I work with that I try to give them some guidance as we're going is whatever works for you, keep doing it and double up on it. And whatever does not work for you, cut it out. And just keep building on that momentum. And yes, you do have to have a lot of confidence. And I think a lot of things that people suffer from is self-esteem, low confidence, and that really comes from starting when you wake up in the morning, get out of bed, obviously, Maida'ani, et cetera, but look at that mirror no matter how you look and just say, I am in love with that person. Thank you, Hashem. And just go from there and attack the world.
Would you say your upbringing gave you that confidence, or it's something that you worked on your own?
Or despite your upbringing?
That's a good question, and that's a good comment. I think I grew up in one of the most amazing times, specifically in Crown Heights, and more importantly, in the Chabad world. You know, we say, Ashreinu Matayv Chalkeinu, that we're Yidden, Manoim Gorelenu, that we're Chassidim, and Mayafa Yerushaseinu, that we're Chabad. I really feel that Chabad is a tefach hecher from everything else out there. And I have a lot of friends in a lot of circles. Primarily, some of my closest friends are in Lakewood, New Jersey. And we talk a lot, and I feel and I know that they look at us with a tremendous sense of awe because they realize that we were brought up and raised with the mindset of a mission, of the ability to go out, walk through walls, accomplish things that most other people are not challenged to do. And that's all the credit to the Rebbe's teaching and the Rebbe's guidance that we have. And a lot of people would say, you know, what I would do to go back and be a younger person in life. And I look at it and I say, I'm so thankful that I have the years that I could look back and say that I grew up at the Rebbe's feet in 770, the Lag BaOmer parades, Simchas Torah, and you know, going through that cycle of life. You could never buy it, you could never create it. If you had it, the ability to live through it, it's the most amazing gift a person can ever get.
Sam, what business are you in?
I wear multiple hats, all within the same stream. I'm primarily in the real estate business. I have a few different buckets in the real estate business that I focus on. Primarily, I do townhouses in the metropolitan area. I have some amazing partners. We buy, fix, and sell high-end townhouses. I have a real estate portfolio that I've accumulated over the last 25 years. And then some other real estate ventures that I've gotten involved in. Most of them have done very well. Some of them, unfortunately, have not. I'm sure we can get into that at some point. And then I have a side-by-side lending business, which I basically do hard money loans. It's sort of like a family office. It's me and my family, but they don't contribute. They just look at me and hope that I succeed. And those are pretty much the businesses that I focus on and that I've done. But I've had some interesting steps and opportunities over the years that we can get to. And
what was your first time you ever made money? And
my first job, I always joke about it. I worked for a dear friend of mine, Yassel Muchkin. I was probably 17 or 18 years old.
The Kretschmer, the pizza shop?
Kretschmer, the pizza shop. He was doing apple juice at the time because they were Rabbanim. They were giving a hechsher on apple juice. There was no Chabad apple juice. I don't know really what that means. But
why do we need Chabad apple juice?
Ask Yassel Muchkin, but I was working for him. He had a textile business, and I would load up his van, put textiles in there for delivery, and a couple of cases of pallets of apple juice, and then he was doing some mayonnaise, and I would
You dropped out of yeshiva at that point?
I dropped out of yeshiva in about pre-1A. I was pretty much checked. I was checked out.
We had a few guests on over the last year that talked about when they dropped out of yeshiva. We had guys from 9th grade. We've never had a guy that said he dropped out in pre-1A.
That's my feather in my cap. But I was working for Yussel Muchkin, and I joke and I say Yussel used to pay me $365 a week. $350 was my salary, and $15 was for the bounce check fee. And that's how we got started. A very dear friend of mine.
So you were out of school then, or just want to get some?
I was out of yeshiva. I
by
was done.
17.
I was done with yeshiva at around 17 years old. They
Gotcha.
wanted to kick me out probably around 15. There was a Farbrengen in 770. It's a story that I tell my friends. The Rosh Yeshiva at the time, Rabbi Pekarsky, who I happen to admire today because he's an amazing stock trader and we share stock ideas. I happen to also have a passion to invest in the stock market because that was a career of mine for 10 years. We could talk about that. But Rabbi Pekarsky wanted to throw me out. And this was during a Farbrengen that he had actually thrown me out of yeshiva. And my dear friend Hershey Minkowitz got up on a table and started yelling.
Hershey Minkowitz from Alpharetta, Georgia.
Alpharetta, Georgia.
We share, his brother was one of my best friends, Shmuley Meitos.
Yeah. So Hershey got up and started challenging Pekarsky, how could you throw Stern out of yeshiva? And Rabbi Pekarsky said to him, he says, I have nobody that's going to control him. I have nobody that's going to take responsibility for him. And Hershey said, it's on me. I'll take care of him. I'll learn with him. I'll do what I have to do. So that bought me about another, 6 months, 8 months or so. But I'm forever indebted to having friends like that are willing to lay down for me and just, go to bat. And that really helped me out. I had a similar story in a camp many, many light years ago, but we can get into that. It's a funny story, but that's pretty much where I'm at.
My first memory of you is,
oh boy,
I was maybe 13 or 14 years old. We lived on Montgomery Street, Kingston and Albany. You lived at the corner building. You were probably recently married. This is like 25, 30 years ago. And you always used to park on our block because the next block is all driveway, so there's no parking. So for many years, I don't know how many years you lived in that building, you parked.
a lot.
Nice car.
And this is before, remember, this is in the late 90s, before all the fancy Lubavitchers were leasing fancy cars. You always had the most gorgeous, gorgeous car in the entire world. I remember numbers like BMW 740s. There was Mercedes models.
Cadillacs.
The best, always the Shensta and the best.
And shiny.
And you wouldn't. My father had a broken down station wagon. The second he got to a spot, he would slam the door. The air conditioning was probably broken. Nothing worked. Every time you parked, it was an avodah. You would come out a few minutes later with flowers and chocolates, cigars, a big fat cigar in your mouth, a leather bag probably from the fancy side. And I said to myself, I don't know who this guy is, but whatever this guy does, he's doing it right, and he's owning it with confidence. That's why I asked you about the confidence. So finally, after a few months of seeing this guy on the block, I asked somebody, what does this guy do? I didn't know about real estate portfolios. And they said, oh, he's a savvy investor. So I knew that if you're in the market, you're probably playing the market well. Those are the years that you were playing the market?
In 1994, a very good friend of mine, Zevi Drizzen, was talking to me. And he said to me, Sam.
I'm not sure who he is. Park Slope?
Yeah.
Okay.
He said to me, Sam, you got to go to Wall Street. It's all you. You have every schnitt of a Wall Street broker, and that's where your calling is. And at the time, I was leasing cars for Leasing Direct, Wheels to Lease, one of your sponsors.
Yeah, one of my top sponsors.
One of your top sponsors, Shlomi Hirschkup.
The best.
And I'll never forget, I was so... Hirschkup was very adamant that I show up and I'm there all the time, blah, blah, blah. The phones would ring all the time. So he needed me there at all times. So the only time I could schedule an interview for the stock market was on Memorial Day weekend, on Memorial Day coming up. So a friend of mine said to me, call this and this guy. His name is Michael Schiavello. And he's running this amazing hiring program right now. And he'll put you into the Series 7 class if he likes you, and he'll train you, et cetera. And they're making a lot of money. So I reached out to this guy, Schiavello, and I said to him, the only time I can come in is Memorial Day. Now, everybody knows Memorial Day is a holiday. Everybody's out. Everybody's enjoying. He said to me, no problem, come on in. So I was immediately taken aback that he's willing to interview me on Memorial Day. So
you would think a guy like that would be in the Hamptons.
I would think a guy like that would be at least in the Hamptons. And I come out there to Long Island to this office. It's the top floor of one of these commercial offices. There's about 300 desks. It's like a Beis Medrash, lahavdil. And, the boiler room set up where all the desks go in a long line facing each other so you could see each other, you could feed off of each other, get the energy and see who's succeeding and who's not.
Boiler room style.
And the reason for that is because it basically weeds out the success from the failures, and it creates energy. And if you're a smart person, you latch on to those that are successful and you learn from them. So I walk into this big empty office. It's Memorial Day, and at the back of the room, I see this guy with his feet up on the desk, and he waves to me and he says, "Come on over." And I walk down. I don't remember anything he said. I was just blown away to the fact that it's Memorial Day. He's the only guy there, and he starts showing me these checks of what he's making every month: 100,000, 80,000.
In 1994.
1994, 150,000. 120,000, and I was just blown away. I was gaga. I just couldn't find my footing.
Saul didn't show you those checks?
Hershkop, he did very well. Shlomi does very well. He knows how to squeeze a lemon, but this is a whole different animal. You know, Shlomi, you need brains. To be on Wall Street, you just have to be a good street kid with a salesman pitch, and you're good to go at that time. Obviously, the environment has changed. So I said to him, "You had me at your first check. I'm ready to start." He said, "No problem. Come in a week." I said, "I need a week or two to give my boss notice."
How old were you?
I'm 54. This is 1994. You're going to have to help me out with the math, but I'm sure your viewers will sit there and figure it out very quick.
Before you're married or after?
This was after I was married. I came back 2 weeks later. They said to me, "We're going to put you into a Series 7 class. It's going to take 8 weeks." Mind you, I've never passed a test in my life.
Just in case somebody in the audience doesn't know, a Series 7 is the license you need to be a stockbroker.
Correct. And the test is really designed to make you fail. They're not looking for dummies. So I went into this class. There were about 85 guys in the class from every walk of life. I was the only yarmulke in this class. Most of them were from Queens, Long Island, street kids, thugs, you know, anybody that wanted to get that rich quick, you know, dream happen.
The cash advance, Mark.
It's today's cash advance, but similar, but way more. But you have to have a degree. You know, you got to pass this test. The short answer is, by the time 8 weeks later came by and I was ready to take my test, there were about 7 of us left, meaning everybody
85, 7 left?
85 down to 7. Most of them took the test once. They failed. They never came back. And the rest just, you know, a couple of weeks into it, they couldn't even keep up with what was going on the blackboard. But I put my blinders on. I realized I'm married and my wife is counting on me to come home with success, and I cannot fail. I can't fail for myself. I can't fail for my family. And I'm going to make this work. And I was basically cut off from everything in my life and focusing on my test. The passing test is a 70. I walked out with a 72, and I hugged the proctor. He was just a nice guy. Proctor is somebody that instructs you on the test. I said, "Thank you very much." I came back. My buddies on Wall Street to this day are convinced that I paid somebody to take the test for me.
That's so much confidence.
Yeah. But the short answer is
Did you?
no, I actually didn't. But if I did, I'd cancel the charge, because if I pay you to do something, don't get me a 72, get me 100, you know. But to this day, Michael Schiavello became my closest friend in my circle outside of Crown Heights.
Italian guy?
He's 6 months younger than me. We share everything in life, meaning families, children, values in terms of the importance of having a good family and a good career. Today, he's very, very successful in the private equity business, and we speak like 2-3 times a week, and we've always been there for each other. So, you know, that's how life goes. You meet people, you become friends, and if they're good people, I always say good people meet good people, good things happen. So I was on Wall Street from 1994 till 2004.
You met him in a Long Island office.
Correct.
And then you passed the Series 7. You're a stockbroker now, and he gave you a job at a desk on Wall Street?
He gave me a job at his company, and the way it worked is you had to
Salary
open up.
Commission?
It was a $250 a week base salary, and then everything else was commission based. But the real thing was, it's a trade-off. I'm going to teach you how to open accounts, how to raise money off your clients, and how to become a successful stockbroker. In return, you're going to open 20 accounts for me, and within those 20 accounts, you have to bring in $250,000 from new money from these clients. So
how often $250,000?
No, that's your one-time get out of jail.
Okay.
So you get that, you cross that benchmark, and then you go on your own, and now you're a broker. And once you're a broker, you're not giving anybody anything. You're just splitting your commissions with the house, and now you are what we call a producer. I was working on a team at that time with about 30 brokers. Mike Schiavello was our manager, and I would say I was in the top 5 producers in that team. So there was a lot of money, thank God, that was made at that time, and that gave me a very good launch. At a certain point, I started realizing I'm making a lot of money. What do I do with this money? Do I invest it in stocks? Do I go outside and invest in other things? So I sat down with Schiavello, who was a good friend of mine, and he was a mentor, and I said to him, Mike, what do you suggest I do? I'm making a lot of money now, and where do I put it?
For context, you're asking advice from the guy that got you started, but he was also younger than you.
6 months younger. But
Oh,
yeah,
same
Yeah,
age.
but his mind is light years ahead.
So he had a head start in life. He started at like 14 years old. Like,
No, he started out probably 2 years before me. And again, he was a hustler. It's all about, if you want to, I always say the A students will always work for the C students. And it's a fact of life, because what you learn on the streets and what you learn from experience is way more than the best colleges that are going to teach you anything. So Schiavello turned to me and I said to him, do I invest back into stocks? He said, investing in stocks is like a surgeon operating on himself. Nothing good's going to come out of it. Go find something outside that you like, and if it works, you'll be successful. So I started looking around, and I said, I live in Crown Heights. I'm looking around. Who are the successful people in Crown Heights, and what do they do, and how can I mimic them? And to this day, I'm forever grateful, because anybody in the course of my life that's been older than me and that's had success that I reached out to for a moment for advice, to just ask them, whatever questions or guidance, I never ever had anybody in Crown Heights close a door on me when it came to guidance and advice. And for that, I'm forever grateful. And I go out of my way to try to give that back to the younger generation in the community. If anybody ever asks me something, I always stop what I'm doing. I want to give them the time and give them whatever advice would work for me. It has worked for me that could potentially work for them and help them along their journey.
How do they email you, Sam?
sternnyc@gmail.com. That lasted until 2004. In 2001, 2011, right before the attack.
2001.
2001, excuse me. Right before the attack, we opened up our own business. So Schiavello, myself, and about 6 other guys went into a partnership to open up our own business. Like anything else, we're making money. The house is making money off of us. What did they do to deserve it? What are they bringing to the table? Not much. Let's open up our own shop, sort of like a franchise where you basically keep almost everything off the bone. And then the attacks happened, and then business just totally went sideways. If you remember, the market was just in the dumps. So at that point, I had already started buying real estate, because I looked around Crown Heights and I realized that the people in Crown Heights that are most successful are in the real estate business. For whatever reason, in Crown Heights and in the Chabad community, we've never really tapped into the healthcare business. I don't know why.
Yeah, good or bad?
Listen, everything is what Hashem wants, and that's where it is. But for whatever reason, we just never got into that business. And I think the reason for that, one second, I think the reason for that is because the healthcare business at that time was a generational business. So your grandfather, your father, and then you went into that business. We didn't have that.
Okay, I don't want to be shot for saying this, but I heard once someone asked Rabbi about healthcare. He said, according to my understanding, to be successful in healthcare, you have to underserve your clients, and therefore it's not
deprive your patients from proper benefits. And the Rebbe said he doesn't want to be involved in that.
I don't know that story, and it's very possible. But the bottom line is
we don't have any healthcare sponsors, so
right. So we missed out. So we missed out on the healthcare business. And for the good or the bad, I think we dominate the cash advance business. I don't think that's a badge of honor, because I don't think that's a business that you really want to go out there and say, I'm a cash advance guy, because it's a great business. People are making a lot of money, but you're getting your hands dirty in a way that's a little bit less than, what I want my kid being in the cash advance business. I don't know.
Sam, we have a mentor of ours. Moshe and I have a mentor. So if we have a question, we ask our mentor. I'm going to get back exactly where we left off. And we asked him about bringing on somebody in the cash advance business to bring him onto the show. He said, what's your problem? I said, well, I don't know. Is it so kosher? Whatever. He says, cash advance is your question? And you're going to bring on the nursing home guys? And I was like, what's wrong with the nursing home guys? He's like, what are you, acting silly? He's like, you think it's the most kosher business? Aren't a lot of these people being very wealthy by depriving benefits from seniors? Do you know anything about this industry?
Look, every business has opportunities for people to be straight honest, or, be a little.
I like the response.
And people have to make decisions on the fly, and sometimes they don't have to answer to anybody, which makes it more tempting. Which is probably one of the reasons why we can get to this topic later on. But I do volunteer work at the local MDS, which is the Metropolitan Detention Center, where we see all of the.
Is that where Diddy? That's where Diddy went.
That's where Diddy. That's where what's his name from
Venezuela.
Maduro. And I've been doing that for a long time, and it really one of the things that I take away from that is it keeps me in check, because I've seen people completely destroy their lives. and they've gone from this to that in a matter of no time, and their lives are completely upside down.
Ouch.
And what that does is it reminds you that, every signature, every document that comes across your desk, and every time you say, I'm just going to, well, you know what looks like, and I've seen it firsthand, and I get to walk out of there on my free will, and that's a blessing. So it keeps me very much in my lane. So I'm grateful for that.
I want to keep things a little bit like with a flow. Your father is a civil engineer?
Correct.
I was at Anshe Lubavitch a few days ago. Between Mincha and Meyer, I decided I'm not going to go home. And I'm not going to take out a safer. I wasn't in the mood of learning. I saw a book he wrote.
Smoke Jumper.
What's it called?
Smoke Jumper to Chassid.
Smoke Jumper to Chassid. And he talks about his time. He served in a war. Which war was it?
He did not serve in a war.
He was in the military?
He was a smoke jumper.
The National Guard?
I don't think it was not. It could be. It wasn't a private company, so it was something for the government.
Right.
They would basically go out into the Rocky Mountains, and in Oregon, and they would catch fire. Very often. Like right now, there's a California fire. So when they have mountain fires, how do they put it out? They don't really put it out. What they do is they get smoke jumpers. This is the way they would do it then. 55 years ago, they would jump out of a plane with their parachute and their gear, and they would create a long trench where they would chop down trees, dig a trench,
Contain it, stop
and this way stop it from crossing over and continuing. So he did that, and then he was approached, and he came to Crown Heights, and the rest is history.
I think Newsom should get in touch with him because they're doing a terrible job in California. The whole place burnt down.
Yeah, they have a lot of problems going on there, but they'll figure that out.
But he became a big Chabad chassid, raised a beautiful family.
Yes.
Gave you a lot of confidence, and he writes in the book that he was a civil engineer from the state of New York or
Pennsylvania.
I skipped through the
He
pages.
went to Penn State. And basically
He's very intelligent.
So yeah, well, the Stearns have a lot of intelligence. So, but no. So what he does is he's a civil engineer, and one of the things that he does in Crown Heights primarily is he does home inspections. So I remember as a kid, every Sunday he would put on his old clothing, and he would grab his clipboard and his pen, and then we would go out, and he would take us along, and he would take us on these home inspections for people that were buying houses that wanted to know what they're buying. And he would say, "Okay, I hear. Let's go inside." And the Stern boys would follow my father inside. And then
The
when
Stern
it came,
boys I know Yossi and yourself. I'm not sure I know anybody else.
we have two more boys, and then we have two younger sisters.
At one point, was like the only person with a dog in Crown Heights was his brother, right? Now
Yeah, two.
There's a lot of dogs in Crown Heights today, but
I think at one point,
yeah.
the guy with the dog.
Well, he would. Well,
He had two gorgeous dogs.
he had two-
Gorgeous.
yeah,
They were
so-
orange.
Right.
One of
They're
them
called
passed away. I did a Nichem Avelim call.
Right. So they're called, outside of the Haredi community, people get very attached to dogs. And within the Haredi community as well, people get very attached. And my kids actually got very attached to my brother's dog. The dog is the closest to a human being, so don't downplay it for a moment. They have they're not very intelligent animals, but they give a lot of love and care. And if you become close to to a dog, and the dog usually passes away, they have a certain lifespan, it's very painful. So that's probably one of the reasons why I would hesitate to get a dog, because you just become attached to something that you're going to get disappointed with, and it's heartbreaking.
I spoke to one of my friends today. He's Haredi Yeshivish guy. One of his grandkids are not so yeshivish, has a dog. He said, I tell my grandkids, I walk into your house, look how the dog greets me, hugs me, and John, look at you. Yeah. Hey, JD, and walk away. So you got to learn from the dog how to greet me when I come to
So dogs are very loving animals.
Bird.
They're very loving animals, and if you ever meet someone that loses a dog, you should be very sensitive to their loss, because it is a real painful loss to them. And we don't realize that as we grow up in our circle, how people outside really have that lifestyle, and we're not sensitive to it, and I see it. So it's just something that we should just be a little more sensitive to.
So you're growing up, your father's a civil engineer, big academic type of guy, and he's doing it for a living, supporting the family. And he would even take you on work calls, which is
He would take us on these home inspections,
Right.
and when it got to the roof, he would take us up to the roof and go, "Okay, guys, jump on the roof," and we would all jump around. And then he would look at the buyer and say, "I think your roof is good."
Wow.
Sam, you said
So one second. So why didn't you? Was there ever a train of thought that instead of working with the apple juice for Yossi Lutkin, that you'll become a civil engineer?
Never for a moment did I think, because I just didn't see enough money in there for me to say it's worth me getting into, because
A lot
I
of
just didn't see it.
Instagrammers, they all talk about this: buy, renovate, flip. What's it really like? What do the numbers have to be to really make it work? If someone wants to start today,
So that's a great
bring
question.
a bunch of friends, say, let's buy this house on Crown Street. We're going to renovate, flip it. What's the realities, and tell me what the numbers really are.
So when I first started out 15, 20 years ago doing these houses, you could pretty much pick up a house anywhere, slap up some paint, put a molding here, there, clean it up, wash it up, and then put it back on the market and sell it and make a profit of somewhere in the neighborhood of, let's say, 50, 100K, and that was good, and you moved
put in
on.
50 and get 50?
You would put in probably 50, walk out with maybe 50, or walk out even with 100 at times.
But that's great money.
It's great money, but it's a labor of love, and not always does it work out that way, et cetera. So the transition that
And which
I've
parts
made,
don't work out? The fact there's more work needed, or it doesn't end up selling for what you projected?
there are deals where you wind up walking out of the closing when you sell the deal. The broker makes more money than you do.
That's
And
not
you put out all the money. You stayed in the deal. You signed on the mortgage. You took all the risk, and then the guy at the table, the broker, not to diminish what the broker does, but if he's making more money than you, then obviously your model doesn't work.
And you
so
have
you need to go
carrying
back to the
costs
drawing
and
board.
everything.
Of course. So what I've done is about 10 years ago, I've gotten into a little more than 10 years ago, I've gotten into high-end townhouses. Now, the high-end townhouse market means you're spending a lot more money to buy the product. You're spending a lot more money to build the product, but you're also selling the product for a lot more money.
You put in 3.
You could
buy it for 3, put in 1, and then sell it for 6 or 5?
So you could buy it for 3, put in 1.5, 1.5. At the end of the day, after your carry cost, after all your ups and downs and mixing that whole salad bowl for about a good, from the start to finish, it's about a good 2-year run from when you close to you finish working. Then you put it on the market. It takes 3 months to find the broker. Then they find the buyer. Then you find the buyer. It takes another 3 months for them to close. You got to give yourself 24 months. And at the end, you could walk out with a very nice profit. And that could be anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000 on the low end to $1 million, $2 million if you do it right, depending on the market. But again, the more you want to make, the more you're going to have to spend in the beginning to buy the house in the right area, et cetera, et cetera.
And finances, bank, will they finance this whole deal, or how much of it?
So banks don't touch these deals because they're not occupied. It becomes a whole qualification process that you really don't want to get into. So what you do is you go to some of these hard money lenders that are not at the top of the line and they're not at the bottom, but they're somewhere in between. So if some of your viewers are in this business, against the property and against your personal name as a judgment, but the cost of that capital usually runs you between
12,
8.5 on the low end, 12 to 15% on the high end.
first
but
position?
again, always a first position. But they'll also give you money for construction, and they'll work with you. And if you start establishing a rapport and you do a couple of deals with them and they feel comfortable, they're going to push more capital on you because they feel comfortable, and now they just want to get a bigger return on their investment, and they don't give you as hard as a process up front as they did when they first met you. So it becomes a relationship-based business.
Love it. Let me ask you, today the houses in Brooklyn are so high, so skyrocketing. Crown Heights, Williamsburg, Borough Park, Flatbush, unaffordable. And all the hot movement, all the new fancy stores, all the new restaurants are all opening up in New Jersey. Jackson, Townships, Lakewood, all those surrounding areas. And what you're getting there for $1 million, $1.5 million is like 3 times the amount of land, 3 times the size of the home. And that's where all the action and traction are happening in Lakewood. You said you have a lot of friends over there.
I would say,
Is there a future in Brooklyn?
Flab, I just want to say, Sam and Levy Goldstein have the biggest network in Lakewood, Flatbush, in the non-Chabad. Like, people come out often, I don't know, they get very, what's the word? They're very reclusive, or
We tend to think that our circle is limited to our circle, and I happen to think that one of the beautiful things about the Pesach programs, going to Eretz Yisrael or Miami for Yom Tovim or vacations, or in the summer, just meeting people around, it gives you the opportunity to expand your network and meet people that are like-minded like you. And I've made some of my closest friends off of those particular events, primarily in the Pesach world. I've met some of my closest friends, not Crown Heights, Chabad, but just people that are just amazing people. I've done business with them. They've done business with me.
Would you say maybe it's a good investment? Well, KMR just became our sponsor. Would you say it's a good investment, perhaps, to say going to a program like KMR is a good ROI for the program? You might do business with people?
There are people that no doubt go to these programs specifically to network. And to be frank with you, the amount of money that you spend on a program, I go to these programs to get away from all that and just enjoy the time. I happen to make friends by default. And then obviously, us people, Jews, we get together. There's always a common denominator, which is, how do we make money? What do you do? What do you do? Okay, how do we align ourselves and potentially create some sort of
because I spoke to the hotel operators.
Camaraderie.
Some people make requests to sit next to certain people in the table planning because they want to get to know them, or for a business or a shidduch. say, just please make sure part of the deal I'm coming to your program, I want to sit next to the Stearns, obviously.
So it's funny because then there are people that say, I'm coming to a Pesach program, and in the dining room, I want you to put me next to this person, but I don't want to be next to that person. I want to see that person, but I don't want to hear them, et cetera, et cetera. I think, the best thing is when you go to a Pesach program, it's like a marriage. You have to be a little deaf, dumb, and blind to get the best out of it, and it works.
So you think there's action happening in Brooklyn anymore, or the people are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and they're all going to the suburbs?
The
burbs.
I am, by nature, I'm an optimist. So I believe everything is for the good and everything will work itself out. I don't believe that, a mayor of a city could destroy a city to such an extent where the whole city goes upside down. Although de Blasio did start that process, and I think that, he started a trend. I'm a very big believer in Brooklyn. I'm a very big believer in the city, and I love Crown Heights. Although I do have other houses outside of Crown Heights that we go to, whether Shabbosim or the summer, et cetera, I believe that Crown Heights is really the Makor HaBracha. There's an incredible energy there. We were in Eretz Yisrael for Sukkot last year. I couldn't wait, and I hate to say it, but I just couldn't wait to get back home. I missed Crown Heights.
Sam, I just want to say, Crown
Sure.
Heights, Sukkot is 10 times better than Crown Heights, Israel. I just want to put that on the
They,
record.
Sukkot is
I think the world
The energy
knows
on
that.
Kingston Avenue, Crown Heights.
It's an 8-day endless Simchas Chag. On any level that you want to participate, there's always something going on to warm your heart, somebody that can make you really enjoy Yom Tov. And you don't find that anywhere in the world because there's a certain vibe that we experience and we share. It's not like, what can I get out of it for myself? It's what can I give? And then automatically I'm receiving at the same time. So it's like Kamayim El Panim. So you put in, you get back, and that energy feeds off of each other, and you just feel it constantly. And you feel it in the streets. The streets are alive. The streets are dancing. Tishrei. And you see the
Speaking
Urchin.
of the streets, I want to mention a call out to Sam for
Oh, wow.
helping.
Oh, he cleans the
still
streets.
exists?
Yeah, I'm the Crown Heights garbage
The
man.
guy still with the vest?
We do. They don't wear the vests because it's
Only
just,
during Tishrei. You have
No. So
Oh,
what happened?
yeah?
Yeah.
Tell us-
So
give us some list.
what happened was
Lely Hershkop says he cleans the streets, but I think Sam actually.
Lely gives a lot
little
of his.
truck. He was a
no,
little
no.
truck.
Lely's amazing. I feel bad because he tends to take things personal. I have had a lot of conversations with him, and I said to him, don't take things personal. And it was during COVID where the sanitation department basically just shut down, and our streets were just looking like an absolute dump. And I said, it's not going to work. And we can't rely on city governments to fix this. I said, let's create a campaign. We'll get the workers, we'll get the cleaners, we'll get people to pitch in. Nobody wants to see garbage. I opened up a Raise-a-thon or a GoFundMe app, and money poured in, and people were just responsive beyond. And it was amazing. $18, $100, whatever it was, whoever I asked, everybody said yes, because everybody realized the trash was just a big issue.
For Kingston.
It started out with Kingston Avenue. And I said to myself, when I started this, I made myself a promise that no matter what I hear, whether it's a criticism or whatever it is, it's not going to be personal. I'm just doing this because I know as a kid growing up, let's be honest, the Rebbe drove a beautiful Cadillac that was always clean and shiny. The Rebbe lived on a house on President Street where the lawn was always manicured and the house was always beautiful and pristine. What does that tell you? And I saw a video of the Rebbe where he stopped davening in the middle of 770, walked around the stender to pick up a piece of trash from the floor. So to me, the Rebbe's vision was cleanliness is godliness, and that's a simple concept. So if we're going to sit there and just throw our trash on the floor, but yet we're going to say this is the Rebbe Shchuna, that's the most oxymoron thing you could possibly do. I live in the best community, but I just drop my trash on the floor. That's not the way we want to raise our kids. So it became a two-part campaign. It was, number one, physically cleaning up, and number two, creating an awareness. And people would text me and say to me, "You inspired me. I went out. I cleaned my stoop. I had my lawn. I had my landscape guy come, and I hired a landscape guy." The Rebbitzin used to be into gardens. She loved people's gardens. So if people are coming from all over the world, and I think we get 100,000 visitors into Crown Heights a year, easy. 50,000 will just come in for a simcha or a day, and another 50,000 are Yomim Tovim and Shabbosim Shabbatons. How do we not look out for our community and make it
You
presentable?
did get some pushback. Some guys were towed. They're going crazy. They thought they could park their ugly trucks
So
middle of
No,
Crown
wait a
Heights
second.
for 10
A
years.
little
So
context.
although you had a lot of love, there's more.
Okay, so I
right?
want a little context to
Class
this.
jumping in here.
A little context. No, because a lot of people were involved. We had conversations
you
about
guys
this.
have amazing chemistry.
Commercial
One day you guys are going to stab each other, but hopefully not on this episode.
commercial trucks and commercial plates, big SUV vans, are legally not allowed to be parked on residential streets. That's the law, right?
Correct.
Now, there was a security issue that a lot of commercial trucks were being parked on Brooklyn Avenue. It's a security issue where there's no parking spots? I know there's a lot of controversy around
Okay,
it.
so just in 30 seconds, let's just stay in the high level. I always tell people that work for me,
High road.
don't give me paper clips and post-its. Just give me the high level facts and we'll go through it. We'll figure it out. The law is you're not allowed to park a commercial vehicle overnight. Great. I'm not in the traffic department. I'm not here to enforce that. What concerned the people that approached me, and there were a lot of them, that said that girls, women walking, and even men, children walking behind a truck at night where it's dark can easily be attacked. Something can happen, something bad. And anybody driving down the street or on the other side of the street cannot help them because they don't see it. So this is something that they wanted to address. Now, let's take the other side. There are people that have a business, that run a business. They want their trucks in the morning and they don't have where to park them at night. I get it, but it shouldn't be the burden of the community to house your trucks like an Amazon, warehouse loading dock because you don't have. If you don't have, go figure out where you could have, but don't put it onto the heads of the community.
How about this? Your business shouldn't be a security concern for our daughters.
Exactly. So we had an effort with the sanitation and the police department and the traffic enforcement, and this was a lot of people. There was nobody in Crown Heights other than the owner of the trucks. The only people that said don't do this were the people that were being affected by it, that were causing that problem.
No one wanted the trucks.
Nobody, exactly. So we said to them, guys, move your trucks, we're going to get it towed. Move your trucks, we're going to get it towed. After several times, they just obviously didn't take it serious, and they were towed. And then they came running, what are you doing? You're costing me money, et cetera. I felt bad. These are nice people. They're hardworking, et cetera, et cetera. But, it's an issue. So what do? If I need more space in my house, it doesn't give me the ability to build a 40-foot extension and encroach on my neighbor's property because I need. You gotta follow some of the laws and guidelines from the city so that we maintain order, et cetera. I didn't enforce anything. I don't enforce. I don't have that power. I wish I did, but I didn't. We just, I was part of the people that raised my hand and said, yes, we need to address these trucks, and we gave them ample warning. And hopefully they got the message. Unfortunately, it's not completely gone. It's still there. I personally, it's not my monkey, not my circus. Let other people figure that out. I'm dealing with the cleaning of the streets.
Okay.
And the answer to your question is yes. So we started the cleaning. It became an amazing success. And thank God people reached out after Tishrei and said, could you please continue throughout the year? Here's my support, et cetera, et cetera. I was able to put together a budget, literally shoestring budget, where we went down from 7-8 guys every time we were cleaning to basically one guy, taught him how to do it, showed him what had to be done, cleans, it's done well as best as possible. We just lost him 2 weeks ago, so you're going to see a little bit of a buildup at a Mitzvah Shem. We're going to put it back on.
What?
I'm sorry?
Lost him to another job.
Lost him, yeah, he moved on. And God willing, we're going to be there again. But people, I was in Eretz Yisrael for Tishrei. My phone was ringing off the hook. You're not here. The streets are filthy. The streets are dirty, et cetera. It's a big need, and it's like anything else that you have in a community that just picks up on their own to handle certain social services like Hatzalah, Shmira, Shomrim, CSSY, all those other things. They're all self-funded within the community. So is the cleaning. It's not an exception.
Because you're so opinionated and your opinion is actually very valued, there's a few hot topics that must be addressed, and
boy.
there's no better person to have. We have a mayor in New York City. His name keeps being dropped on this show because I live here, so it's very negeya. He posted a tweet on Friday about Nakba Day, the day of rage, when Israel officially stole all the Palestinian land. He promoted a 5-minute video clip that talks all like horrible, disgusting things about Jews and Palestinians, and it seemed to me very anti-Semitic. And he's the mayor of I looked up the numbers, of 1 million Jews. Now you would say, the job of a mayor in New York City is to, like you were saying, the garbage and the police. And when he ran, people kept bringing up Israel, and he used to always say, hey, it's 5,000 miles away. I'm the mayor. We're talking about garbage, sanitation, public school. But he keeps bringing up Israel and the Palestinians and the Gaza and everything, and he has 1 million Jews in his backyard. He's not being sensitive. But here's where it gets sticky. How should elected or unelected Askanim deal with him? because 48 hours later, we hosted a Cheese Blintz's Shavuos event, and the Askanim that went said, hey, he's the mayor. On the other hand, it's like, you just spit in our face. No, I'm not coming to have Blintz's. You're not my friend. What would you tell these Askanim?
So let's go through, let's look at that from a high level and just get the big picture, and then we could sort of zoom in. My opinion has always been that when Israel's back is against the wall, they do incredible things. And when they feel no threat and they feel no sense of hatred from the world, they do the most silliest things, give back land, appease. I mean, the most insane things that just make us cringe. Unfortunately, and I say this with a lot of pain, but October 7 was a game changer. And what it did for Israel was make them wake up and realize that there is no other way, and this is the way it has to be done. Moving on to our side of it, Jews in America and Jews around the world have the same mentality. When things are good, they would just want to go out and protest for any cause that they can because we're Jews and we're supposed to be progressive and we're supposed to be kind, et cetera, especially after what we went through, et cetera. And there were a lot of Jews at that point that woke up and also realized this is the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to us. And who am I? What's my identity? I like that process where they have that question being asked to themselves in their head. What does it mean for me to be a Jew? And it's not just bagels, lox, and cream cheese. What's my identity? What do I stand for? And what values do I have? And what do I want to teach my kids? So it was a process where you really saw, like Warren Buffett says in the stock market, low tide, you get to see who's not wearing a bathing suit. This was an opportunity for Jews to check themselves and to say, where am I and where do I stand? And we saw a lot of them come out and move to the right and become staunch supporters of, in their mind, Israel, however you want to look at it, the land of Israel, the state of Israel, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously we have our customs and what we believe in and what we follow. But at the end of the day, we are all brothers and sisters. And I think this is something that has to be dealt with on a global level from the real, the influential leaders in the Jewish world have to come out and put a lot of pressure on the government to do what they have to do. Long term, I'm very concerned about where things go, but I'm not concerned in a state of God forbid something can really happen. It's going to be. There's a word that you hear only on Pesach, especially in the Chabad world. We don't, Yiddish is not our main language. Pesach, there's a word that as a kid growing up, the Mitzrim peiniged us. Peinig. You never hear that word. Did you have a good day? My day, peinig. We don't use that word.
What does it mean?
The government means pains.
It means inflict pain, but like real, mucherai. And I felt that for the first time during COVID when we had de Blasio. He was mamish. He would sit there and eat on camera and tell us how the COVID test was the best thing that ever happened. And it just felt like it was such a double standard. And I felt peiniged, and that was one level.
You confronted him and shouted in his face like I've never seen somebody be confronted in 39 years.
So it was like, it was a lot of pent up anger and frustration.
But everybody wanted to give you the juiciest hug. You were like, you made us all so proud.
I had detectives and NYPD high-ups reach out to me. I don't even know how they got my number. And they're like, Sam, this is the greatest clip I've ever seen.
Do you tell our audience what happened? Give us.
De Blasio was just the absolute worst mayor in the city of New York. And it was just a buildup of years and years of him just, and with his BLM stuff and everything else that just made everybody very, very uncomfortable and feeling like we are second class to whatever is not his agenda. And I finally had him at a moment where I saw him at an event on Eastern Parkway at the public library. And I said to myself, this is my shot because I've thought about it for a long time.
You had your camera?
I had my camera. I put it on video because the last thing I wanted to do was verbally, give him a nice greeting and not have it on camera. So I looked at my camera. The tape was rolling. I walked up. You could see it online. It's, hey, Bill, we got to take one shot. And I put my arm, and he's like, oh, yeah, sure. And he thought, this is the greatest guy out there.
Another lecker.
Exactly. And I just walked up to him, and I looked at the camera, and I said, everybody say hello to the biggest POS, in New York. And he went white, turned around, bailed out. But I got him. I nailed him. And I hope to have a moment where I can get Mamdani. He's very very smart and crafty and clever as to the way he goes about things. So he's not an easy target where you can point to one particular policy and say that's where you're causing us all these problems, because he's very crafty at the way he does things. He's very smart. He's very brilliant, but he's going to trip up like everybody else trips up at some point. And when he does, we're going to hold him accountable for that, and we'll get something nice that we could share with the Olam.
You'll get a clip.
Exactly.
I heard even at the Shavuos event, he had a huge red rope. He didn't get near anyone. Didn't talk to anyone.
I wasn't there. I don't know.
Look,
I
you
just
know,
saw
if you ask,
social media pictures.
if you ask the Askanim, the activists in the Orthodox community, why did you go? They'll tell you, listen, you have to get along with government, and you got to work with government, and that there is a.
But 2 days after such a post?
Listen, if you ask them, that post is not necessarily contrary to what they, to what they feel. But
Lubavitchers?
no, but there were some Hasidim that were there.
But there were Lubavitchers there.
Look, I'm not going to comment on something that what somebody else did. I don't know the context, and I didn't see Mamdani's tweet, and I'm sure it was,
It was bad. It was bad news.
Look, October 8th, I had such rage in me. I took an Israeli flag. I'm not by any means a Zionist. I am a pro-land of Israel for the Jews. It's our land. There's no question, full stop. In our circle, there's nothing that we can identify with that says that I am a proud Jew. Other than just
the flag. And
the flag. And the flag today is not the flag the way it was 50 years ago, even though, and we know the Frierdiker Rebbe even said that the establishment of the State of Israel set Mashiach back 50 years, is what he said. Today, the flag is more of an identity as a Jew. And I put that flag up on my office, very proud, 8 feet wide. People see it. It's caused a lot of, people that walk by it either get very, very excited to see Am Yisrael Chai, or people walk by and they get the opposite, which I would hope, because I want to make people feel uncomfortable as much as we feel when we see the other flags, et cetera, et cetera. I went to a
Can we
protest.
create a non-Zionist pro-Israel flag that we could? Do you have any ideas, Sam?
I think I've thought about that.
Isn't that the Mashiach flag?
I think the Mashiach flag is very. It's a Mashiach concept. We want to say, if you ask the non-Jew, what's the Mashiach flag, they're not really going to understand what it is. So you need a proud Jew. I'm a proud Jew flag. And if we can get somebody to design something nice, I would get behind it, and I would love to be able to, showcase it, because I think we would all like to hang our hat on something other than, just that.
I see Haredim non-Zionists. They just end up wearing Tzahal T-shirts. That's the only Israeli army.
We need something. We need something that we could feel that we could all get on board with, and if we can get there, I think it'll be very, very nice and helpful.
Talking about life.
Yeah,
you live in Crown Heights.
I do.
You live, I think, down the block from my favorite people, Shmuley and Mimi Kopstein. I had to mention that. I had to mention Mimi. By the way, Mimi is my biggest fan. Anything I ever do, Mimi stands behind me. She'll make a flyer for me. She'll make a video for me.
What about Shmuley?
Shmuley's also great. Amazing people. I feel like if I have somebody from Carroll, I have to throw my favorite people. Back to business. You live in Crown Heights. Very, very loved in Crown Heights. Very popular, involved in the Moistus.
And now good looking.
Always good looking.
Hold on. And now good looking.
Now good. We'll get
always good looking. You just see it.
I want to get to dieting as the next.
Oh, you down how many? 50 or 100?
About over 100.
Over 100. Okay.
We'll get to dieting in a moment. So, and then in the summer you go to Evergreen, where I have a lot of family there. I have Shmuley and Mimi. I have Chani and Chaim. I have a lot of great people there. You also have a home in Montebello.
Correct.
Now, there was one summer, I think 3 years ago, where I came for Shabbos, and everybody was talking about. When I say all, what is it, 80 homes there?
63.
63 homes with the new homes?
Plus the guests were at about 1,000.
Everybody's saying, Shmuley and his Rebbitzin, they're not here. They're too cool. They went to Montebello. They're dropping the home prices here. They're going to come back next year. They better come back. Wait. They're going to come back next year. That was the whole hype. It was nothing else to be. The parsha wasn't important. The day camp wasn't important. And guess what? You came back the next year.
So interesting that you mentioned that.
What's your point with the statement club?
My point is that what's the story of Montebello?
I didn't know where he was
and
going.
do you
that's what I was trying to figure.
you understand how much they love you? Are you going to let the people at Evergreen down ever again?
So I'll just answer you very briefly. During COVID, which is when I felt panicked, I wanted a place that I can get away from Crown Heights, not sell my house in Crown Heights, because I don't feel that giving up something, I feel that's weakness. I'm not a weak person. I stand up and I face reality, whether it's a threat, whether it's anti-Semitism, whatever it may be, a bully, whatever it is. It's in my nature to go head up to whatever it is that I feel is trying to intimidate. I needed a place to get away for my family, for our, just mental health. And I didn't know where I wanted to go. And everybody at the time was running to Florida. Baruch Hashem, we have a nice family. And I didn't want to get into the Florida idea because it involves flights and tickets and delays. And then all of a sudden flight cancellations, et cetera. And then
You don't fly private?
and then it becomes, Maishi, you're all over the place. And then I don't need to own a plane. I just need to have a friend that has a plane. And thank God. So I needed a place and I didn't know where, what, when. So I do this a lot in life and it's very helpful. And I'm sure a lot of the listeners either use it. And if they don't, I highly recommend doing it for life questions. The process of elimination. You do that when it comes to shidduchim. You do that when it comes to business ventures, partners, etc. You don't know what's good. So just do a process of elimination and just start eliminating. Do you know how that works, Maishi? So you just XXX. And in other words, you take a sheet, you split the paper in half, you write down the pros and cons, whatever you're left with, that's what you go with. So I said, I don't want Florida. Now, where do I go? And there's a lot of options within New York. Do I want to go to Poconos? Do I want to go to Muncie, Pomona, this, that? And I started eliminating those places based on things that I didn't like. And then Montebello was one of the last places.
I don't know much about Montebello. It's Muncie.
The highest taxes of any from your area.
It's similar. It's near Muncie?
So you have these little towns. You have Pomona, you have Muncie, you have Montebello, you have Earmont, you have, Nyack, all these communities.
I know about Earmont because I went to visit Lipa Schmelzer once.
Correct.
And it was in Earmont.
Correct. So my broker said, you got to go check out Montebello because she was showing me places that were amazing properties and houses, but you walk out onto the road and all of a sudden you're dodging traffic, you got to wear reflectors. And I said to her, I have families. My family has, Baruch Hashem, we're growing with kids and strollers. I'm not going to dodge traffic. I need a place that I could walk on a nice residential area. She said Montebello. I said, okay, I pass by, everybody passes by Montebello. It's 14B off the thruway. I've passed by my entire life. In Italian, it means beautiful mountain. So it has a nice charm to it.
Montebello.
I went into this town and the houses I started looking at, I came across this house. As soon as I walked into the backyard, I turned to my broker and I said, lock it up. And Baruch Hashem. So what I do is in the summer.
You didn't bring your father as a civil engineer to check out the property?
I was buying it regardless. And I didn't want anybody to mach kaila and tell me anything otherwise. I just went ahead, put my blinders on, and Baruch Hashem, the Yad Hashem, it turned out to be an incredible asset in terms of bringing joy to the family. We go up there in the wintertime, we try to get away every 3, 4, 5 weeks unless there's something going on. But in the summertime, I move into that house myself. And that's where I work out of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday afternoon, I get into my car and I drive upstate. And it's really halfway literally, if I sit in Montebello at my pool, halfway Crown Heights, halfway is Evergreen, my home upstate. And what I like about it the most is all my friends come over and we have a beautiful time. I host them and we barbecue and we hang out on the way up to the country. So it's 3 minutes off the road. Everybody's happy to get an invitation.
How many friends did you get once you had the house with the pool? How many new friends signed up?
So, everybody, I try to give everybody at least one chance to come and visit. But I tell them, when I go to your house, I ring the doorbell with my elbows. Do the same. Bring something. Show that. Be a mensch. I don't need you to bring anything, but, there are certain people, they just, they want to walk out with doggy bags. No problem, but you'll never get a call again. Come, be a value add to the environment. We have a great time. We sit around like this and we schmooze and we work.
I love what you're saying. Nobody will say what you say, and your brother Yossi is the same way. That means when you're hosting somebody and you're multi-million, I don't know how much, none of my business you pay. You have a beautiful home and the upkeep and the pool and everything. A guy's going to come for a barbecue and come with his kids, and you have cleaning ladies that have to clean for the next 2 days, and they even at minimum wage, it's a few $100s to host somebody. Don't come without a fancy bottle of scotch or a nice $100 cheesecake, but nobody will say it. You're giving people the opportunity to say you're coming to somebody for Shabbos in the summer. Bring something nice. Make yourself wanted.
My wife taught me, we're married 33 years, Kanei her, and she taught me from the very beginning, you show up to someone's house, you don't come empty-handed. And I live by that because I know also when people come to my house, I don't need anything, Baruch Hashem.
I just want to say,
but it's a nice gesture.
The first guest we ever had that brought us lunch was Sam. So,
not only did he bring us a big bag of food and French fries and drinks, I asked him, "What are you going to eat?" He says, "No, the food is for you." Thinks about another person.
He's GLPing. Sam, tell us about your weight loss journey.
So my weight loss journey.
Do you drink enough?
No,
What's the
no.
side effects? How bad it is? How easy it is? How expensive is it?
I
gonna give you-
didn't see you take a drink. You gonna have a drink?
I've been drinking. My bottle's right there.
Okay, perfect.
So my entire life, I've struggled with food. It's just one of those genes that you get. You know, I've been blessed with a lot of things in my life, and I'm very grateful for that. And like anything else in life, nobody's going to get everything that they want without something that they say, I don't need. And food was one of those things where I said, why me? I started doing what everybody did 15 years ago. There was this surgery and there was that surgery. And what I tell my friends is that when it comes to weight loss, it's not like an alcoholic or a drug addict. Alcoholic, you can send them to AA and tell them that you're not allowed to have any alcohol. They could sort of cut it out and live their life. A drug addict, you can put them into a rehab. They come out a few months later, no drugs, no problem. They could live their life. But for people that eat as an addict, and I believe that that food is an addiction, you can't tell a person that from now on you're going to make good choices. Everything is going to be at your fingertips, but you can only make good choices. It doesn't work. So the surgeries, in my opinion, they're good. It's a launch, but it's not something that's going to last long term, because eventually, as an addict, you figure out a way to get around these things, and the body has an incredible way to figure out shortcuts. So
have you had the surgeries?
I did have
the sleeve or the band?
I did the band.
I heard the sleeve is the only good one. The band they say is a joke.
I'll tell you a funny story. I was working on Wall Street, and the band had just come out. Nobody really understood what the band was. Everybody just said the band, the band. I'm sitting at my desk 3 days before I was going in for my surgery. And I get a FedEx. Now, when you're in Wall Street, the amount of stress that you're going to go through on a daily basis is unimaginable, because you're managing people's money. Your income is going up and down by the hour, depending on what stock announces what news, et cetera. So you're either going to have a great day, a great month, or you're going to have a disaster and you have to start rebuilding. So the stress is unimaginable. So one of the ways that you get through that stress is you goof on each other. And you just think about, like, you're back in school. What would we do at school? We would chipper with each other. Pranks. So I'm sitting at my desk, and all of a sudden a FedEx package comes to my desk. And, the assistant, she'd walk around and give out the mail. So she puts this big FedEx on my desk. And I opened the FedEx, and it read that it was from the hospital that I was going to go in for my surgery. So I'm saying to myself, I'm going in 3 days. Why are they sending me a FedEx? I open the FedEx and I look around, because I'm a little, I don't want anybody to see what's going on in case there's something there that's like a little embarrassing.
A diaper bag or
The
something.
biggest rubber band you ever saw, with a note that said, Sam, looking forward, please bring this with you to your surgery procedure. And my heart dropped. I was like, this? They're going to put this inside me to control my eating? A rubber band? And as I picked up my head, all my broker buddies were standing around. They pranked me. They sent me a rubber band to bring it in. The short answer is I did that, and I managed to eat right through it. Maybe I lost 30 pounds on it, and I'm sure anybody listening to this may have done the band or the sleeve or whatever it is. You drop to the lowest, and then slowly you figure out, I like this, I like that, and this gets through, and that gets through, and before you know it, you're popping up again. What the drug did, what this drug figured out to do.
Manjaro, which one?
It was Ozempic, and then I switched over to Zepbound. It's all with the same.
I met a guy in Shul today. He told me he's on Manjaro. That's why I thought of it.
It's all the same stuff. But really, what it does is it takes away your urge to eat, and that's something that nothing else was ever able to accomplish. And because of that, I'm at a point now where I could walk into a store. When I was a kid, I would walk into a store, and Rosa Englander on Avenue J, and she would take me to the back of the store, the back of the rack, and show me 3 suits, a purple, a pink, and a yellow, and say, let's just try it on for size. And I knew that there were no choices for a guy like me. I was husky, short, portly, obese, et cetera, et cetera. And then when I was all frustrated and I couldn't get a suit, at least I would walk across the street to Kosher Delight and stuff my face. That was that numbed the pain for that moment.
Is there any more Kosher Delights left?
No.
There are no more Kosher Delights, although Murray Uberfeld is a good friend of mine, and I've asked him, Murray, open up a Kosher Delight. What's with you? But he's on to much bigger and better
Fried
stuff.
chicken. We missed that from the snack box.
Oh my God.
Right,
I would walk in there.
snack
I would get 2 burger delights, a chicken box, dark meat,
Chicken box.
with a Diet Coke that just literally.
Scoop up the French fries in between. With that
Oh
little...
my goodness! It was that and Shanghai, I think, are the two.
Shanghai's Thursday night $15 buffet with
what
fortune
happened
cookies
is-
and ice cream.
Right. So what would happen is, and they would have those drinks, those cocktails with the umbrellas. You would think you're in Hawaii. But Thursday night they had the buffet with all the obese people would sit there.
How'd they
I'll
make
never
money
forget.
at $15?
I one time went into Shanghai, took a chair and pulled it up to the buffet as if I was going to sit at the buffet. I think the owner passed out. Literally gave him a
Wasn't
heart
a
attack.
Jewish owner, was it?
Chinese.
No, he actually owns a restaurant across the street, non-kosher. He's still in business. I don't
Now?
know why he closed up. Yeah.
Maybe
But,
the buffet.
Probably we put him out of business.
What?
He's like, listen, over here I'm making money. Over there, these Jews are killing me. Why do I have to stay open for the Jews? So that's why he probably moved on.
Talking about Florida, where you had an option to move to Florida, you have family that live in Florida.
A nephew,
A nephew. What's his name? Avi Scholzen?
correct.
I don't know him personally, but I hear he's a big philanthropist, really, really cool, classy guy. And I think he put Chaf Av on the map.
Avi,
Chaf Av is the,
Him or
the
Sam?
Chaf-
Clap
No,
me, hold
Avi,
on,
Avi,
be
Avi.
careful.
Chaf Av is the
Avi,
Lubavitcher Rebbe's father's yahrzeit, and the Rebbe's father is buried in Gullus. He was sent to exile for 5 years. Was it 5 years?
he was sent for 5 years, and then when he came out, he went to a place called Almaty.
It's like China. It's like
It's on the border of Mongolia, and then he never survived. He got sick, and that's where he passed away. And then they ultimately buried him there. And the Rebbe said that he's in a gullus b'toich gullus, because he's in a non-Jewish cemetery with all sorts of stuff up there that is very unpleasant for somebody like the Rebbe's father to be buried amongst. So it's very painful and a very painful experience. And I'll just tell you very briefly,
So he's buried in a non-Jewish cemetery?
he's
Yeah.
buried in a non-Jewish cemetery in an area that they were able to get, and they sort of cordoned off that area. But it's very painful to see because you literally see non-Jewish symbols as you're walking to the Rebbe's father, which is very, very painful. The whole story with the Rebbe's father is very painful. And, the way I connect myself to the Rebbe is anything that the Rebbe was passionate about, I try to latch myself onto. So as a kid growing up, it was Lag BaOmer, the Rebbe's face would shine. Simchas Torah, the Rebbe's face would shine. And Chaf Av, when we were kids, we would come in, Rabbi Shem Tov would bring us into New York, and the Rebbe's face would shine. So I knew Chaf Av. I didn't know the Rebbe's father. I never learned his Torahs, but I knew that his father was very near and dear to him. So about 15 years ago, my nephew, Avi Scholzen, who's an incredible person, but more important than being an incredible person, he's a very giving person. And he gives in a way where it's just unimaginable, in a way that just makes the other person feel so special. And Avi has that unique quality, probably because, like the rest of us, he came from dirt. And when you experience that level of blessing, you feel that guilt of, I want to give back. And he doesn't just, throw it around. He gives it in a very meaningful way.
I was in Miami Beach a few months ago. He built Rabbi Shapiro's show. I think his name is on the show. It's beautiful.
Yeah, Avi's a very big chassid of Rabbi Label Shapiro.
Ever
And
bring him
Rabbi,
on the show?
what's that?
Do you think get Avi on the show?
You could try. So about 15 years ago, Avi was in Evergreen. He has a house there at the time, and he calls me up and he says to me, Rabbi Duchman was at my house, and he suggests that I go to Almaty.
When you
to
say
the
Rabbi
Rebbe's
Duchman,
father.
from
Shalom
Kol
Duchman,
Chabad.
Kol Chabad. And just a little background, Avi was going through a very difficult in the nursing home business, getting back to our opening comment. Obviously, mitzvahs and maisim tovim that he was involved in the nursing home business was coming back as a big problem, and the government was about to drop the hammer. And Shalom Duchman, who's very good friends with Avi, paid him a visit and said to him, he said, Avi, there's only one place in the world that you can go to that you could find the real bracha for this problem, and that is you go to the Rebbe's father. So Avi called me up and he said, what do you think about doing a trip to Almaty? And I immediately said to him, I said, yes. And yes, for many reasons. Yes, because it's in the middle of the summer, so it's an easy time to get away. There's not, you're not dealing with kids, and kids are all in camp, kids are, et cetera. And then the other thing was, I knew and I remembered what the Rebbe's face looked like when we would come in for Simchas Torah. And I tell
For Chaf Av.
for Chaf Av, excuse me. And I tell people, a lot of the young generation never saw the Rebbe. They never saw the Rebbe Chaf Av. They never saw the Rebbe Lag BaOmer. And I say to them that, it says in the Gemara, when Mashiach comes, he's going to stand on the roof of a Beis HaMikdash and he's going to tell you that he's going to announce Mashiach. And if you don't believe it, what does it say? Look at the shine on my face. So I tell these young guys, you never saw the Rebbe. But look at the shine on someone's face who did see the Rebbe and get a blip of what it was like to have seen the Rebbe during those moments, and you feed off of that energy. And I remember the Rebbe's face. And I said to Avi, I said, let's go. And sure enough, we planned a trip. And we got to Almaty.
Wait a second. I want to get to the excitement of the trip. It's a 20-hour flight.
It's a 20-hour flight. You almost miss a day because you leave
Each
at
way.
night. Yeah, you leave it. Well, the way back, you're gaining time because you're flying back into the time zone. So the way out, you mamish have like 4 hours of daylight. A very short window to daven shachris, and then you're back into the nighttime because you're
So
just
you
going
guys
into-
chartered a plane?
No, so the first year was just Avi and I.
Oh, it wasn't a plane.
There was nobody there, and we got into the town, and the shliach was there, and we went up to his office, and we sat down, and we farbrained to sort of, get into the mindset.
Is there a direct flight to New York?
There's no direct flight.
How many flights is it?
You stop off either in Frankfurt or in Turkey. You can go through Dubai, but basically it's two very long flights.
So you went on Chavav,
We went on Chafaf.
and no one was there.
The whole point is
So
to be
we
there,
got
Chafaf.
we got there, and we get to the Keizer, and as soon as I walked in, I felt this incredible sense of emotions. My knees were shaking. I started bawling my eyes. I'm crying like a child, and everything that I imagined of what the Rebbe would have wanted and would have given to be where I am, I'm there, and I'm sort of connecting the Rebbe to his father by being a conduit, and I couldn't handle that concept of who am I, but I'm here. And I'm doing something for the Rebbe that he himself wanted to do, had an obligation to do, couldn't do it, but yet he could help everybody else in every aspect of their life. And this is the one thing that he was stuck and he just couldn't do it. And here I am, and I'm standing here and I'm fulfilling something on his behalf. It was incredibly emotional. And we were there for a few hours, and then we had to turn around and get back on the flight and fly out. And we had another stop that we were making on the way out. So as we're going out of the Keizer, the shliach starts locking up the Keizer with a chain and this and that. And I
Cohen?
look at
What's
him,
his name? Cohen?
Shia Cohen.
Shia Cohen.
Incredible shliach. And I said to him, I said, Shia, what are you doing? Why are you locking up the Keizer? It's Chafaf. He says, anybody that was supposed to be here has already visited. I said, really? How many people was that? He says to me, about 14, 15. I said to him, Shia, Gimel Tammuz in New York. You get 40, 50, 60,000 people coming through the oil.
The line's a few hours.
The lines are endless for 24, 48 hours. The Rebbe's father created him, taught him, mentored him. The Rebbe adored his father. And you're telling me only 15 people? He said to me, yes. So without asking Avi anything, without discussing, I just turned to Shai and I said, next year, bring out 12 Bachrim. We'll do a rotation. It should be 24 hours. Me'es la'es. There should be Tehillim, and they should learn by the Keizer to enhance the yard site. And that was it. We flew out, we hugged, we said thank you, etc. And about Pesach time afterwards, I get a call from Shia Cohen, and he says to me, you were by the oil, Chaf Av, you were very miragesh, you were very emotional, but you made a commitment, and I'm just wondering if that was just, knee-jerk, or were you serious about it? And I said to him, absolutely, let's do it. So he arranged for 12 boys to come out, and for the first time, since the Rebbe's father was buried there,
1944.
for the first time, there was a constant reading, davening, Tehillim at the oil. We don't daven, so there was Tehillim at the oil for 24 hours, which was an incredible thing.
What year was that?
What year was that? It was 15 years ago. And then the next year, Shia said, it was such a success what you guys did. Why don't we do it again? But this time, let's bring out 25 boys and we'll make a yeshivas kayetz. We said, okay, let's do it. And then the rest is history. Avi said, listen, let's go big or go home. So the way Avi understands it, and he just, stepped it up, spent millions of dollars over the last 15 years, bringing and helping people come out there and creating this sense of awareness.
By chartering planes.
Chartering planes, by creating awareness, by sponsoring all the food and the whole eshel that takes place on the ground there. It's basically to Avi's credit. And he saw, in life, people can point to somebody and say, that's a lucky person, that's a lucky person. How did they get to be so lucky? In my opinion, luck is when opportunity meets preparedness, and preparedness is prepared to write a check. That's luck. Everything else is, I could have done this, I could have done that. So Avi saw the opportunity, he grabbed it, he seized it, and it's been an incredible opportunity. And getting back to his story, obviously he didn't have that problem that he went out there for, worked itself out in the most amazing way, which is obviously, a big Yeshuas Hashem, and he's very grateful for that. I don't speak for him, but I know from the conversations that we had that obviously, was very grateful, and there's a lot of Akaras HaTov. So this is where one of the places that he puts a lot of koyach into and resources, which is incredible.
Would you say the traveling that you have to do for this trip, it's so long, and you're not there for a long time, the traveling another 24 hours getting back at least, with it, you really feel the gullus that he was in?
The Schar Halicha, I'll tell you my little puzzle to the whole Almata, and I've shared it with anybody that asks me because it's just just the way I see how it comes together. You walk into the oil, what do? We're going to go in, we're going to say Meine Lashon, we're going to daven, we're going to read a pond, but we're going to close our eyes and we're going to daven to Hashem that in the schus of this holy place, that our tefillas should be answered. And what are we really bringing to the table of value to be able to put our hand out and ask for anything? No, we're not, I mean, are we deserving? Yeah, we'd like to think we're deserving, but what are we really doing? When you go to Al-Matah, you come back with equity. And that equity gives you the ability to walk into the oil on a personal level and meditate and say, I did something that I know the Rebbe wanted to do very much, went out of his way to not remain a Bal Choiv to anyone that did anything for his father. So much so, there was a person by the name of Nemoitin that took care of the Rebbe's father, a very well-known person. There's a story that's not very well-known. And I heard it, so I'm going to share it, and hopefully it's something that people will hear. The Rebbe was once on his way back from the oil with Rabbi Krinsky, and he asked him to pull over at Brookdale Hospital. And the Rebbe went upstairs to visit Nemoitin. Not a well-known story, but I heard it.
I never heard this.
Not many people heard it. And it just goes to show you the Rebbe's Hakaras Hatoy for anyone that did anything for his father. And there's a video of a person that was on the President Reagan's delegation to Russia, and he was traveling through Kazakhstan, and he gives an interview, and he says, the Rebbe said to me, if you're traveling through Al-Matah, if it's not a big deal for you, could you please go and visit my father? And there's a shul there, and you'll meet the Gabbai, you'll give him a code word, he'll know that you're really there for the Rebbe's father, you're not a spy, et cetera, and he did it. And I believe he came back, and the Rebbe thanked him profusely for that visit. The Rebbe never imposed on anyone a personal favor. It wasn't his nature. But if you're going anyway, could you do me a favor, please? So how could we not, from everything that we lean on the Rebbe for everything, for brachas and Yeshuas, everything, how could we not take the time, get on a plane, and make that journey and show the Rebbe that your father is not forgotten in a physical way? We're here, we're going to put our boots on the ground, and we're going to show the whole city of Al-Matah and the whole world that this is a holy place, and we're coming here to celebrate his yahrzeit and to learn.
I was always jealous that other guys go to Reb Shaila, so finally Chabad has their own
Don't be, the word
European,
jealous,
what's it called?
a destination.
Destination pilgrimage. That's
Listen, if one of those kfarim were here, I doubt they would get the attention that they get. It's the whole,
I was in
But don't use the word jealousy. I teach my kids, jealousy is a bad word. Envious. You have. I also want. Jealousy is, I want what you have. That's never.
How many times have you been there since, Sam?
I've been there every year.
Every single year.
Every year.
Co-
But it's
COVID?
not.
No, COVID, you guys went.
Of course,
You remember it was a
of course.
humanitarian mission and a delegation.
exactly.
It was a whole story.
Exactly. But it's not just me going. Me
How
going
many
is
people
nothing.
now?
The thousands and
Thousands?
thousands and thousands of people have gone to the credit of Avi Scholzen for
I
what
mean,
he
now
did.
average year.
Average year, you get between, it depends. If there's a Shabbos, you'll get, in the high hundreds, maybe 1,300, maybe 800,
Wow.
maybe 500. It depends what day of the week it falls out. This year happens to be a challenging year because it falls out on Sunday night. So it's before Shabbos, you want to get in, and then the flights become challenging. So listen, people should get there however they can.
14 people to thousands. Impressive.
I could tell you one thing. There's not a lot of things that I was davening for at the time that I was going. But there was one thing that I was davening for. And that is that I wanted my family to grow. And I figured the only place I can get a bracha like that is in Al-Matah. And then when I was davening, I said to myself, if we're blessed with a boy, and don't forget we're older people, so this is not an easy challenge. But if the Eibishter decides and blesses us with a boy, I'll name him after the Rebbe's father. And if we're blessed with a girl, name him after the Rebbe's mother. And 6 years ago, Baruch Hashem, my wife, who was almost pushing 50 years old, healthy baby. And if I tell you that, it was a simcha in the shtot, we made a kiddush Shabbos for our daughter, who's 6 years old now. If I tell you we had 1,500 people show up, because to hear a story of a couple of this age, and I point everybody and I say, Al-Matah is the only thing that I can point to that I could say is a schus in my life that I wanted to cash in on my equity, and I asked for that bracha, and I saw it with my own eyes. We don't understand the way things work in the world. There's a puzzle, and they say those that believe have no questions, those that don't believe have no answers. So I'm a big believer, and but I'm not smart enough to know where the bracha comes from. But I could say that I would like to think that Al Mata has a tremendous energy, and it is a Makar HaBracha, so people should go.
We had somebody on the show 2 weeks ago, Henya Lane, Rebbetzin Henya Lane. She's old enough to be my grandmother, and she said that her parents went out of Russia with the Rebbe's mother, and that the Rebbe is mamish. It's how the Rebbe had an eternal appreciation and of people that helped his parents. And you think about it, the Rebbe's father's story is so much more tragic, and how much more he would be like a Baal Chayv, because his mother got out, and she did have many years, decades in America where she saw her son become the Rebbe and such nachas, But the Rebbe's father, really, this whole Golos Patech Golos, I've never been there, and I'm getting goosebumps from hearing the story.
There's a story that I heard firsthand from a rabbi, Chabad rabbi. I believe he lives in Kfar Chabad. His name is Gorelik. He told over a story in Al Mata at one of the big gatherings. It was late at night where he was sharing the story, and he was sharing the story about a late night yechidus that he had with the Rebbe. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, and he said he's standing in the Rebbe's room, and the Rebbe has his back to him, and he's looking out the window up to the sky. And they're having a conversation. The Rebbe's asking him a question. He's answering it, mostly about the Rebbe's father, Reb Levi Yitzchak. And it got to the point in the conversation where the Rebbe asked him, and the Rebbe's looking up at the sky. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Very deep conversation that the Rebbe's trying to understand certain things. And the Rebbe said, do you think it's kedai to move the Keizer to New York? And he said, before he was even able to answer the question, the Rebbe said, soll schon bleiben azay. When you hear that level of just surrender, the Rebbe was not someone that surrendered, but the Rebbe just couldn't get this issue resolved. Couldn't. For whatever reason, this was the most, in my opinion, one of the most painful sagas of the Rebbe's life. So if you are connected to the Rebbe and you feel his pain, go book yourself a flight, go out there. Avi takes care of everything from the moment you get on the ground to the moment you take off. It's obviously, the idea is to put some skin in the game. So you buy your ticket, you pay for your hotel, but the food is incredible.
Aaron Avi pays for influencers to come, so I don't know if we're in the...
Influencers,
Hold on,
I want to spend money and go.
I want to make Clappy for this week, Ami Magazine, a company paid to have his face on an ad. Just want to let you know, we're at a new...
That's amazing.
And it's the same week we have the great Sam Stern, so I think we're hitting a certain level of clap. He's getting paid, what's called NIL deals, and we have Sam Stern the same week. Sam, because you mentioned careers and stuff, if someone wants to get into real estate today, a 20-year-old guy, what would you tell him the first steps to do is his entryway into the real estate world?
Good question. First of all, I would say I'm very much pro partners. Everybody thinks, partners are a detriment. They take half my profit. What do I need a partner for?
I agree. What do you take?
I think fakert. I think two partners gives you the ability to have two minds at the table, looking at things. A lot of things come across my desk in the form of a deal that I look at it and I go, yeah, I'd love to do this deal. And then my partner will look at it and be like, absolutely not. Not at the way you're doing it, but if we do it this way, and we move this, and we get the seller to give us that, and the lender to give us this, it's a great deal. So the value of having a partner, in my opinion, is way more worth it than not having a partner. And I've been blessed to have amazing partners. And my advice to people is get yourself a good partner.
Day one, they want to get into real estate, get a partner.
Listen,
Become a rental agent first.
Rental agent is not going to give you.
So you shouldn't start as rental. That seems to be like the go-to thing.
I think
they always start off doing
rental agent will pay your rent. as a broker. So I don't know what a person is doing to get into this business. If the person needs parnasa,
I met a 23-year-old kid on the way to
you gotta
show.
finish
No,
this.
a 23-year-old kid on the way to show last week. He started doing property rentals. He said the
Why
last
do I get all the interruption
he
comments?
said the last few months he made 15 grand a month doing rentals in Brooklyn.
rental market is very hot, and you can make a lot of money as a rental broker. The problem is that if you're going to be a rental broker, that's where you're going to stop.
Get stuck.
You get stuck. So you're not going to go say, I'm a rental broker now, and then at 2 o'clock I'm going to look at a property. You could do it. You could pivot back and forth if you're good, but if you're just getting into it, then you're basically limiting yourself to rental, which is not, look, a person has to do it. You got to throw a lot of
What's the
stuff at
first
the
move
wall.
they should do? Should they find a house and get some friends and put down a down payment and flip it and hold it?
So the way,
I think step one, we're doing basics.
so the way,
We have a lot of young guys watching our show.
no problem. Start off and do reverse engineer everything. I have a house here. House is worth $1 million. If it's fixed up and if it's sold, I can get $1 million. Now go backwards. If I sell the house for $1 million, it's going to cost me 7% at the table when I sell it to cover my broker, my title fee, my attorney fee, and my transfer tax. There's nothing to talk about. Figure a formula is 7% if you're selling in New York. Good. Now what am I left with? Now, what's my renovation cost going to cost me? And be honest with yourself, because if not, you're going to wind up working on that house and not making money, and you're going to be very
Do you
frustrated.
think the first deal someone should do in the real estate is get a house, fix and flip?
I think the
That's what
first
it
thing,
sounds like you're
I think the first thing you should do is figure out what you want to do, how much money you have to spend, what areas you want to look at, what's your budget in terms of.
Are you saying the first move someone should do in real estate is buy something?
I think buying something will get you on the horse, and then you start galloping once you do, half a dozen deals, and you'll learn trial and error. A couple of things will punch you in the face, but guess what? If you're a boxer and you go in the ring, you're getting punched in the face. It's just part of the process.
What do you think about development deals?
I happen to love development deals.
Ground up.
Yeah, we're doing some low income stuff. We do in the Bronx. We're doing in East New York and Brooklyn. There's a lot of money to be made in the development deals, also in Manhattan, high end development. But that's a tricky business, and I would not.
Is that syndication?
No, it means,
Syndication, you could syndicate anything. I could take this bottle of Snapple and buy it in a
no,
syndication.
development means you take a piece of land, you build something, you bring.
But how do you
partners.
usually bring in a lot of partners?
So again, it all depends on where this person is on the totem pole. So if a person says, I have access between me and my partner to $1 million, there's not much. Actually, there is a lot you could do with it. If you each come in with $1 million, you have $2 million of equity. A bank's going to look at you. You're going to be able to write some big checks based on you coming in with $2 million. And if you're short $1 million, you bring in a third partner, and he's a silent partner, and maybe you scrape him down a little bit so he's not active, so he gets a coupon on his money plus X% of whatever the profit is.
Coupon on money, I mean?
Coupon on money is you're getting 1% on your money. So if I give you
Interest. It's like
interest,
a loan.
exactly.
Not an investor or a mix.
Exactly. We call it a preferred return, like a pref, and then you get some sort of upside in the deal if the deal does what it's supposed to do. So the short answer is I would not encourage anybody to become a developer because there's a lot of moving parts as a developer, so people don't really understand that, and they're going to have their head handed to them because they're going to lock up a piece of real estate and contract thinking I can build 50 units, and then all of a sudden they didn't realize there's a landmark, there's an easement, there's a restriction, and then all of a sudden it's not worth what I thought it was, and how do I get my money back? Oops, I can't get my money back.
You're paying
Now I'm
interest
stuck.
every month.
And you're paying interest, and now you
Hard
start
money,
convincing yourself, okay, so if it didn't work for this, it'll work for that. But if you had the ability to erase the blackboard and start over, you wouldn't touch that. So don't go into the development if you're just starting out.
So
But
buy ready, built, renovate, rehab, flip, or hold.
Correct.
Or hold or flip.
holding is very difficult today in New York because there's, the idea is to, everybody says, how do you get your deals? Sam Stern, how do you find your deals? I tell him, why don't you go to Coca-Cola and ask him for the recipe of Coca-Cola? It's the same idea. This is 30 years of hard knocks, being able to
What about going to
schmeck.
these foreclosure auctions? I once went just I tried to get some content, but they don't let you talk, only pull out your phone. Is there any money to be made at these foreclosure auctions?
There's a cartel that pretty much runs the foreclosure auctions. When I say a cartel, meaning they don't control anything or do anything nefarious. What they do is they are in the game, and they are constantly buying at the auctions. Now, the way auctions work is there are auctions for every county. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It starts off in the Bronx, then it goes to Queens, then it goes to Manhattan, and then it goes to Brooklyn. And they're all held at the courthouse. And it's all public information. You can get all that information. The problem is that you don't know what you're getting. You just know there's an address, and I see what I see from the street, and that's it. there are horror stories where people have bought properties at auction, and every auction you buy, you have to be able to close within 30 days. So you can't go to the auction and say, oh, my bank is needing another 3 weeks or 3 months. They'll keep your deposit and resell that auction again to somebody else. So you never, ever, you're walking in and somebody's juggling knives and you say to him, here, let me help you out. You're going to get stabbed to death. It's not going to.
You don't recommend an entry-level guy?
Unless you're intimately familiar with that property. Like, for example, if there's a property right behind your house or a few blocks away and you know that property and you know it's vacant.
But the addresses are published that week?
No, they're a couple of weeks in advance, and
so
they
you
actually
could do some research.
You could do research, but you're not getting into the house, so you really don't know what you're getting. So it could be that it's a shell. Yeah, but they're not letting you in because you and 50 other people are knocking on the door. So nobody's letting you in and saying, "Here, come buy my house at a discount and kick me out when you get it." It doesn't work that way.
How long does it take to evict someone in New York today?
It depends how good of a case they get. It could take you 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, or it could take you a couple of years, depending on what
Most people that I speak to that have a horror story, they're saying upwards of 2 years.
So the reason why it could become very, very painful and lengthy is people tend to make arguments like, oh, I was a co-owner. The owner promised me the house. So it goes from a landlord-tenant case. Now you're going into Supreme Court because now there's different laws and arguments that people are making. And these people can find a legal aid attorney that doesn't cost them anything, and they'll sit there and write papers all day that'll just kill you with 1,000 cuts. And you're going to be like, you know what? Maybe I saved $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 on buying this property at a discount, but my money is sitting there. It's been 3 years. I haven't gotten anywhere. I would have rather just pay a retail price for a vacant house, look my seller in the eye, shake their hand at the closing, say l'chaim, say thank you, and move in the next day with my family.
You don't do foreclosure stuff?
We do foreclosures.
Not auctions. Only you'll just do a deal in person. Say, here's this, blah, blah,
We
blah.
do everything. I have partners for everything. So I get calls and say, hey, do you want to come into this?
You don't show up to auctions, Sam.
I'm sorry?
You don't show up to auctions.
I will show up to an auction if I have a connection to a specific property. So what happens is part of my lending business is I take collateral is property. Not everybody does what they say they're going to do. So certain people, we call it a misunderstanding, and they don't pay their mortgage, right? I misunderstood. I thought I don't have to pay it. Well, hello. So you start a foreclosure. At some point in the foreclosure, you're going to get what's called a referee that's appointed to sell off that property. And then whatever's brought in, which is what they call proceeds. So if the house sells at the auction at $1 million, you, depending on where you are on the title, if you're the first lien or the second lien, maybe there's taxes that are owed. So then you're entitled to your money plus your interest and legal fees, and that's it. It's not like people think, oh, it goes to auction, you take their property. No, that's not how it works. The owner keeps whatever the change is. So if the owner owes, let's say, to you and to the tax man and to whatever else, $500,000, and the auction goes for $1 million, technically speaking, the owner is entitled to that $500,000, but he's got to go through a process of a proceeding with the court to go and put his hands on that money. It's not so simple, but he gets it. There are people that specialize. There's somebody out there for everything to help you through.
There's a Hasidic guy that specializes in everything.
There is a Hasidic guy that can do pretty much everything today. Yes, and they're not afraid to do it. And you know what? We have within Crown Heights, we have guys that are doing everything. And the collaboration between Crown Heights, Williamsburg, Lakewood, and Borough Park, et cetera, has been incredible to see.
With the guys that you meet in the hotels.
From the Pesach programs and stuff like that. Everybody's transacting one way or another through business because we just put everything on the side. You're a good guy. I'm a good guy. Let's do business. And that's basically the way it works.
What's your opinion about the Mark Nussbaum fiasco story?
So it's a painful story. The name you mentioned is a dear friend of mine, has been so, and my family for a very long time.
Just a background, not everybody knows who we're talking about.
I think everybody
There was a
knows.
story, allegedly, where a lot of people lost tens of millions of dollars, and a lot of people lost all their money, and nobody wants to talk about it. So I'm very, very happy that finally somebody could tell us a little bit about it and how people could protect themselves for the future, that we don't have a repeat.
Well said, Cliff.
What happened was Mark got involved in a low-level business outside of his legal practice. And I'm just giving my opinion. So if Mark hears this himself, I'm comfortable because I would say this if I was sitting with Mark on a social level. He got involved in a lending business outside of his legal practice. And that lending business was people approaching him saying, hey, I need money for a closing. I need money for this. I need money for that. Can you spot me whatever it is that I'm short that will allow me to to get what I need.
Spot means lend.
Spot means lend. And Mark, being a very nice, easygoing guy, would say, sure, send me a text, send me an email, sign this, whatever it was. But it wasn't a lengthy process. It was a very easy process of, you need money tomorrow, there's a wire in your account. If I know you, I trust you, or if I can get somebody to vouch for you, it was one of the easiest places to turn to. And a lot of people turned there. And were
At
able,
interest rate.
At some interest rates were high, some interest rates were very high.
Could you give a rough
But-
idea how much money the average transaction was?
I'm just going to throw a guess out there, but a couple of $100,000 on the low end to a couple of $1 million on the high end. But again, this is how business is done. So at a certain point, you need more capital to keep the machine going. So people obviously on the other side said, I could put my money into this, mixing bowl,
Fund.
and I'll get a certain coupon on my money, interest rate on my money, which is nice.
So far,
Mark-
I didn't hear any issue. What's the
yeah,
issue?
yeah, exactly. So Mark created a structure where he would loan out the money at a certain rate, take in money at a lower rate, create a spread, and that was his parnasa from that particular model. So far, so good. Like everything else in life, you get drunk with success. And people really started throwing money at him. Hey, take my money, because it sounded like a very easy place to park money and get a coupon on your money. Problem was, everybody thought that their money was sitting safe in what's called an escrow account, an attorney IOLA account, which is the safest place you should think money could sit, unless the attorney is willing to screw up his life and his career and then put his hands on it. And like anything else, it got out of hand. The numbers became astronomical, and the monies that were being put out were huge, and the monies that were, loaned out at the rates, et cetera, were enormous. And a couple of people went bust. And when you get caught into something like that, there's only one way to get out of it. You just create more, you create one scenario to fix another scenario, but really what you're doing is you're creating one problem to fix another problem, and then it snowballs. And by the time it was all done, you had this blow up where one guy put a gun to his head, ended his life. And, a lot of people are out a lot of money. And a lot of them are good people, and they obviously did not go in with bad intentions to hurt anybody. They just went in to conduct business, and they got, they were very trusting, and there was trust on all sides. And unfortunately, this happens in the Haredi community. Every few years we get one of these cleanouts because
What's interesting
we're
about
we're very incestuous in our community. So we eat together, we dance together, we live together, etc. So, you're doing this. You have money sitting by this guy and he's giving you that. Maybe find out. Maybe he needs some more money. I just sold something. I have some liquidity. I could park it there. There's always this
he would
network going on.
So he was losing his money from his fund because people were going bust, and then he needed to keep it going, so he raised more
Borrow
money.
from Peter to pay Paul is what ultimately happened. But you're not talking about 1,000 or 1,000,000. You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that ultimately went bust. And this is all public knowledge, so it's not like we're sitting here. We're not casting an opinion on anybody. Everybody's good, and everybody has the right to the process in the great country that we live in, and hopefully everybody gets what they gets back what they deserve, which is full. The investors should get back all their money, and everybody should be made whole, et cetera, and everybody should live happily ever
Before
after.
we get to the lessons, 2 times in the Lubavitch circles in the last 5 years, I would say, people got burnt very heavily. And in both times, there were lawyers involved. That means the person I would trust the most in the entire world is a lawyer, right? So if you're a lawyer and you go south, forget about it. Because what do I do when I have a legal problem? I go to a lawyer. So are we at the point where you have to be even more careful when you're investing with a lawyer involved? Because, again, I want to reiterate this. When I have a problem, the first thing I'll do is speak to a lawyer. So if the lawyer is the problem, who do you turn to?
Sam, no comment. He's slowly drinking.
There's problems on both sides. There are people that are dishonest, and those are the people that are creating the problem. And then there are people that are greedy, that are going outside of the norm to get that bigger bang for their buck, and they're putting themselves in those situations. So you have this side is committing fraud, and this side is greed, and you put them together, what do you think the outcome is going to be?
Greedy means people want a high return that's not market rate. It's not normal to expect that rate.
And listen, greed runs in every circle, every line. You have, Madoff had, his investors and his people, et cetera. It's not something that's limited to
Sam,
one community
have you ever
or
been
another.
scammed?
Have I ever been scammed?
Yeah.
I've gotten burnt on some
Burnt being
ventures.
scammed or just you lost money on a deal?
No, intentionally, somebody took money from me on a particular deal, and I wound up getting myself an attorney, and obviously, going through the process and judgments, et cetera, and eventually, do whatever it takes to try to collect back.
Is there any way to avoid being scammed or just part of life? Are there red flags?
Red flags are, you have to have a schmeck. And that schmeck goes with everything that you do in life because your nose is going to lead you with whatever direction you're pointing to. So when you're looking at a partner and saying, do I want to be a partner with this person? Your schmeck will tell you, go with your gut. You're picking a partner for life, shidduch. It's also, you're going into a business transaction with somebody across the table, no matter how good the deal is. You have to go with it. You have to go with what your schmeck is. Most people, in my opinion, are honest, well-intended. Problem is that you can't say that everybody is, and therefore. So you got to have good lawyers, good documents. You have to understand what you want to achieve and what the process is, and make sure that you have those pieces of the puzzle. And somebody called me and said, "I need a loan. I'm about to. They're cashing this, and I'm selling that. So within a week, I get your money back." It's somebody that I know on a social level. I feel close to that, to that person, and I'd love to be able to help. And I said to that person, I said, you know what? I'll do it for you as a favor. No, not even charging you as a lender, and we're not talking about small money. I said, but it's got to be tied into real estate, and I have to be able to pull a title report, and I have to be able to record something on title just until I get my money back, just what's called a restrictive declaration. Everybody should know this property has a restriction on it. You cannot mortgage it. You cannot sell it until this guy gets his money back. The guy said to me, if it's going to take 2 weeks, then I really don't need it. I said, I'm giving it to you for free, but if you don't have the 2 weeks, it's not going to work. So you got to put belts and suspenders on, and you have to use common sense. Everybody wants to be the nice guy in the room, and everybody wants to say, sure, take it, this, that, I'll help you. But that's usually where people get burnt. So if you set your boundaries and say, this is my checklist, I'm willing to do this, that, and the other, provided that I get this, that as collateral and in return, and don't let your emotions get in the way, because people have a way of getting into your emotions. What are you doing? We're friends. What are you talking about? No, this is how I do it. And I tell people, I manage money for people. People have a certain level of trust. And if I go outside of my box, then I'm violating their trust because I'm not doing what they expect me to do. And it's going to lead to a bad outcome. So I don't do it.
You mentioned earlier in the beginning of the show that anytime you asked someone in Crown Heights for help, they always helped you.
Always.
I remember hearing an interview with Steve Jobs, and he said that in my entire life, every time I called someone to help me, they always helped me. He says, just pick up the phone and call. And he said he got his first job at Hewlett-Packard when he was very young, because he first called Mr. Hewlett-Packard. He found his number in the phone book in San Francisco, wherever it was. He said, I need this extra part for my computer. It broke. He said, sure, come over to my house. He brought him the part. And then he got a job offer to work that summer at HP. But he was saying that people are so afraid to pick up the phone and say, could you help me with this opportunity? Tzedakah collectors call you all day long. They have no problem calling from the call center to help. But to actually get the call, could you please help me with this idea, business idea, this and that, is people have this huge fear, and it's really just advice or help.
So vulnerability, right?
So you're saying that people have the fear of picking up the telephone and asking. I'm going to tell you the fear on the other side. The fear that everybody has on the other side is when you get a text from somebody that you don't know, okay, send me your link. Like, how much is this person asking for? Let me just get this out of the way. The biggest compliment you can give someone that's successful is, can I have 10 minutes of your time? I just want to get some advice. I am telling you, they will stop whatever they're doing. It's the biggest joy for them. You're not asking for money. You're not asking for their trade secrets. You're not asking them to get in their car and take you to the airport or do something that's outside their comfort zone. You're asking them, you're putting them on a pedestal and telling them, you're smarter than me. I need you some advice that has no interference with whatever it is that you do in your wheelhouse. That should be no threat to your existing business, but you're going to help me with mine. I promise you, to all the young people or anybody that's listening, pick up the phone. If you're not asking for anything monetary, you just want Eitz's advice, I don't think there's anybody out there that would turn down an opportunity to just give you some good advice. And I think people should take advantage of that.
You said partnerships, very, very important. And the ultimate partnership you're going to have in life is your wife. Tell us a little bit about your wife and your children, because everybody I speak to says that every one of your children are a superstar, super successful, big personalities. We reached out to one of your daughters. I think she's a very, very famous shetelmacher. She said she wants to come out. We're still working out the logistics.
You have a sheitel stand, or are you getting one?
I'm tempted.
You're tempted to what? You get a shetel?
Look at this. I mean,
You know, if guys were in
after
this,
GLP,
if guys ran, not, I'll answer your question in a second, but I tell everybody, if guys ran the sheitel business, sheitels would go for maybe $250 to $500 tops. There'd be no, all sorts of fanfare, whatnot. For some reason, we don't understand the sheitel business. When our wives come to us for a sheitel, we usually lose patience after 3 minutes, and we just say, okay, here you go buy it, because we just don't understand what we're paying for. And we feel like, let's just appease them and just get it off our plate. But if we ran it like a business, I think it would be way cheaper, way more efficient, and obviously, cost effective is
my opinion on sheitels, and we also talk a lot about money on this show. I tell guys, let your wife spend however much money she wants on a sheitel. I'm going to tell you why.
I'm listening.
Buy it once and do it right. When my wife got married, her siblings, her mother, whoever helped her, they got her 2 very expensive sheitels. She wore them for a bunch of years, and I asked her how much they are retail. They were each in the thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm married. I'm working for a couple of dollars an hour. I had a 9-to-5 job, schlepper, whatever. And she one time tells me that there's a sale on semi-custom virgin hair. I don't know, whatever, the best deal that if you get 2 people to buy, it's like $1,400 and whatever. I said, oh my God, I thought like 14 or whatever. I ran to the ATM machine. I think the limit on Bank of America was $1,200. I went on my lunch break. A teller gave me $200. I ran home. I'm like, I beat the system. She had the really expensive ones for like 2 years. I'm happy to deal with a century. Like, oh my God. A few weeks later, I don't know anything about sheitels. I don't know if my wife is wearing a sheitel or not wearing a sheitel. And I mean, legit, I don't know sheitels. And I asked her, hey, Chani, what's the story? How's that sheitel? I didn't want to tell you. It's itchy. It feels funny, my neck, my this, my that. I said, could you bring it to a shetelmacher and do conditioner and softener, whatever? I don't know. Anyways, but Keizer, I don't know how much longer later she donated it to a shetelgemach. $1,400 in the toilet. Now, let me tell you something. I'm not a big billionaire, but to me, I'll rather spend $5,000 that I sweat blood and tears for, that's being used for a few years, than $1,400 that's going to a shetelgemacher. I'd rather give $18 to the shetelgemach than the sheitel. So listen to what happened. For the next many years, whenever my wife buys a sheitel, I say, whatever it costs. I called up a famous shetelmacher in Crown Heights years ago when I really was struggling, and I said, my wife's picking the best sheitel. I said, can we make a payment plan? I got her son Zalman involved. He vouched for me. I gave head checks, like tuition. I gave head checks. And I only let her buy expensive sheitel. So I'm just telling guys out there, when your wife wants a little bit of money for a cheap sheitel, don't do it.
My daughter Dina is in the sheitel business, and she says to me, she runs a very successful
They say she's
company.
top.
Can I know her? She says good sheitels are not cheap, and cheap sheitels are not good. Let me answer his question, because he asked about my family, and let me.
Do you have any sons? You have one.
In my castle, there's only one king, so I have 4 daughters. But I do have the most amazing son-in-laws.
I know one. Cohen. Oh, Einbinder, Cohen.
Yes.
2 married kids?
2 married kids.
I know them all.
You had a baby. It was a girl. Oh,
Right. I have 4
Chana.
daughters.
No, the way you're saying the story was like for sure I'm born. It was really yes, that sure. But I really just said kid.
Chana Nava. We named her Nava. We named her Chana after the Rebbe's mother. And Nava, I said, because I never met a Nava I didn't like. Edel, nice, genuine, zen. But the answer to your question is yes. I've been blessed to have an incredible wife that I think you asked me what the key is. Somebody once told me, and I live by this, and I tell this to all the young couples. And I say this if I ever, go into a Shever Brachas and I'm sitting next to the Chassan Kala, and I say to them, you want to have a successful marriage, you got to be a little deaf, dumb, and blind. Nobody's perfect. Everything's got to be overlooked to some extent. And the most important thing is you got to give each other space. That is, in my life, I think, what's most important. We give each other space. You have to try to involve your spouse in things that you do. How was your day? What are you doing? What's going on? I'm not a poster child for that. I have a million things going on. My phone doesn't stop. But I try, when I walk in the door, I try to put my phone down and be present, which is important. And obviously there's always room for improvement. But we've been very blessed. beautiful family, 4 daughters and 2 son-in-laws. And yeah, I think every daughter is in love with their father. And if the father has a personality, like, this guy, it just makes it that much more, larger than life. And I see my kids, I see myself in my kids, and I'm sure my kids, love and adore, and I feel that I know they love and adore me, and I feel their energy and similarity. And they make me very proud. And, but everything is the hand of Hashem. Unfortunately, we live in a time where people have a lot of challenges when it comes to kids. And I tell my friends, don't ever judge somebody else's kid, because today it's him, tomorrow it could be you, God forbid. And that's something that can affect any home, any family. And there's no remedy. There's no guideline that you could say in life that if I live my life in this way, I'm guaranteed my kids are going to be absolutely on a straight path. It doesn't work that way. One bad friend, one night out, and all of a sudden they go left, and before you know it, the train is completely broken, and then you're dealing with that. So it's a lot of siyata d'shmaya. I give a lot of the brachas that we have in the home to my wife's credit. She's not shy about it. She'll remind me that I daven for you all day, and I say Tehillim, and that's great, and that's it. So that's the answer to your question.
I think you're the most well-dressed guest we ever had.
When I worked on Wall Street, it was the mentality of your car, your watch, your belt, and your shoes. That's really what a person is judged by. You walk into a room, yeah, we're going to sit here for the amount of time that we're going to sit here. We'll get to know each other in an intimate way, you just, questions and answers, etc. But when you walk into someone's office for 3 minutes and you have that 3-minute opportunity to make an impression on them, you better be completely up to the wazoo, but not overdone. Understated is very important. So, you have to be well put together, and a little bit of, man jewelry is always...
Who dresses you? Who chooses your outfits?
My wife overlooks everything.
So
then I make the final choice.
She goes shopping for you, and if you don't like it, you'll return it.
She has incredible taste, but her taste comes with a huge price. So I try to find things that are more
Which is the Sultan that had that news website?
My brother-in-law,
Brother-in-law.
his father.
Still around?
Yeah, very big
What is
following.
it? Could you tell us?
He basically keeps the Haredi community up to speed as to what's going on in all the different Keizer. The Keizer are the different circles.
Which kicker?
What's it called?
Chadri Chadar?
Chadri Chadar.
Yeah, it's very famous.
Yeah. And he's if you would ever get him in the hot seat over here, you guys, you wouldn't be able to.
Could you make the introduction?
I'll put you in touch for sure. But
Has he ever done a podcast?
I don't think so, because I would have seen it. But he is. Oh my God, you'd fly off the handle.
Time, you always drove a fancy car to make a good impression. You liked the car, because Clapp said the first thing was the guy in Montgomery Street with the fancy car and the cigars.
I work hard. I spend most of my day in my car. So if I have an office, which I try to make very comfortable, because that's your daladamas of what you want to be.
Your car is your office.
My car is my office. I smoke in my car. I try to get a nice, comfortable car. I used to be a much bigger guy, so a big car was very important to me. Yes.
Tips if someone wants to be financially successful. Give us 3 tips.
Setting goals is extremely important. Setting realistic goals is even more important. And being honest with your goals is the most important thing. So everything that I have in my business in terms of my habits and the way I conduct from a day-to-day as to how I go about things, prioritize, and be able to manage and juggle, basically is my 10 years on Wall Street that gave me that level of school of hard knocks. First thing you do at the beginning of the year, and you could do it at the beginning of the month, set yourself a goal of how much do I need to earn in order to cover my bills, keep the train moving, okay? Average family today, I mean, I'm not going to throw crazy numbers. I think a person needs to have $200, $250 a year just to be able to get by. I mean, we're living in crazy times. You want to take a few trips. You want to have a vacation. You may want to get a house upstate. Boom, boom, boom. Add another 100K onto that number. Now you want to be a little bit of a balabata guy and this and that. So the numbers could just keep going and keep going. So you start off when you're making a goal of what is my need? What's my absolute need? That's your number. Then you basically say to yourself, okay, now what do I want? Because I'm not just getting up every day just to keep the train moving. I got to be able to start snowballing it so that there's money in the bank and I can put some money into the S&P 500 and I can maybe get involved in a deal or two because Clappy and Frank are going to call and say, we found this property, we want to flip it, et cetera, et cetera. So there's got to be some extra gas in the tank. You look at those numbers, and then you divide it by 12, and that's what your monthly budget is, and that's what you need to make a month. And then you divide it by 4 and divide it by 5, because that's the days of the week, and then divide it by 8. So basically, when you wake up in the morning, you should be able to say to yourself, I got to get moving, because every hour of my time costs me X amount of money no matter what. So if I'm just sitting here and doing nothing, I just wasted X amount of money. But if I'm productive, now I'm moving the train along and I'm making money.
What's your day-to-day morning routine? You get up what time in the morning?
5:45.
5:45.
Every morning. I'm up at 5:45. I go down to my kitchen. Of course, I get dressed and I go down to my kitchen and I have 2 cups of coffee and I start blasting emails to the people that I work with, my attorneys, my partners, my workers. 5:45 in the morning, when you're getting a text or an email or a WhatsApp, they're like, oh my God, this guy's nuts. But it gives you a head start on the day, because by the time they get up, I'm already coming around, the back end of my first part of my day, and they're just starting to respond to me. So I'm not playing catch up. They're playing catch up. I've ping-ponged the ball into their court. Now I'm waiting for them to get back to me. I have a routine. I daven at a 7:30 minyan twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. I go to the gym every morning at 7 o'clock. I have a good friend of mine outside of Crown Heights. We meet at the gym. We work out together. I call it therapy. I mean, we work out very hard, but it's mental therapy. It's amazing for an hour. Come home, 8:30, I walk back out the door and I start my day. I'm either going to a job site, I'm going to my office, I'm going to a meeting, or one of those places. I'll take my daughter to school in the morning, which is a big joy for me. It keeps me young. And then I go through the day, and usually my day pretty much wraps up. I'll spend some time, usually about once or twice a month, I spend a day in Lakewood. So that's a full day. But if I'm basically local, my day usually wraps up at around 6 o'clock. I come back home and, relax, try to help out, copy, paste, rinse and repeat, do the same thing all over again the next day.
Unbelievable. How do you balance the many hats that you wear?
I'm a creature of habit. I like to work with lists. I like to write things down with a pen and paper because it engraves it in my head. I work with a schedule. I like to have a calendar on my app on my phone.
Oh my God, we're gonna be out of business.
That means we're having a good time.
We would not be here today. We would not be here today. Physically, we would not be here today without our corporate sponsors.
It was getting a little boring. So
that keep the lights on. We are forever grateful to our dear sponsor.
You're so interesting until it's the first time we ever forgot. Wow.
Maishi. We are forever grateful to our original corporate sponsor, C.H. Butcher. C.H. Butcher on Troy Avenue has a beautiful, beautiful Fleischiker restaurant that saves people tons of money. You don't have to go to the city, pay a $100 parking ticket, get an extra 3 hours of babysitting. You still have young kids. You have babysitters. You get the Manhattan experience at the Brooklyn price. C.H. Butcher on Troy Avenue. C.H. Butcher has the Crown Heights Hechsher, so it's really, really Glock Husher. And they have a beautiful deli takeout on Albany Avenue to C.H. Butcher. American beef. Not the same as the Argentinian stuff. This is the American.
Since we don't have any product.
Yeah. American Angus beef. C.H. Butcher and their deli on Albany Avenue is the most fabulous, amazing food you will ever come across. We're also very proud of our corporate sponsor.
Oh, upside down.
Upside down.
Show up to the camera.
The camera's pulling it up. We have Central Travel. Central Travel, Tuchsidish Jungeleit, they're doing this for years. They make vacation packages that a young man, you want to go on vacation, you want to get car rentals, hotels, the resort, the food, the airfare. Basically, you just send them your information. Everything is done. They send you the entire itinerary. Everything is done. Bako Miko Ko. These are ongoing deals. $1,875, which is basically like lunch in a restaurant. You get 5 days, 4 nights, airfare for 2, deluxe king room, kosher breakfast every day, 1875
At the Altair.
at the Altair in Florida.
I want to tell you something about the Altair. I stayed there in November. We had a simcha in Florida. My kids moved to Bay Harbor. I didn't know about the Altair. I've never been there. So we booked. We had 5 nights at the Altair. It's like a Pesach program year round. And I kid you not, I have a friend of mine that owns a few units over there, and I called him up afterwards, and I said to them, I said, this checks all the boxes. If you're Haredi and you want to go separate swimming, there's separate swimming. Heimische food, you have breakfast, lunch, dinner on the property. Staff, amazing. Rooms, spacious. Priced well.
The pool, the rooftop pool?
Yeah, the rooftop pool. And it just really checked all the boxes. I was super impressed with that place.
Next vacation package, St. Regis Canay, that's in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. $4,200. Airfare for 2 included. 5 days, 4 nights. Ocean View private pool. You don't need any Schwimmkleids. No Schwimmkleids. Ocean View private pool. Airport transportation. You don't even have to deal with a rent-a-car. $4,200. I'm getting in the mood of vacation over here. We have West Panama City, $3,300. Airfare for 2, 5 days. City View King, transportation included. And we have Eden Rock Cap, Dominican Republic, $49.87. Airfare, 5 days, transportation, luxury pool suite. And it's a suite. So it's, anyways, call my friends, the phone number. Call my friends or WhatsApp them. They respond. They have a big staff. Within seconds, you get a response. Central Travel, Moshe, and his wonderful partner, 845-202-0775. We also want to sponsor. We also want to sponsor. We also want to thank our sponsor, Wheels to Lease. I was on the phone today with Saul Hershkop.
Give him my regards, by the way.
I definitely will. And the wonderful Izzy Herman, top salesman in the world. And they told me, Izzy, focus. He told me today on the phone. Izzy Herman today told me on the phone. He says, Izzy, focus on credit approvals. He says, tell your chevre, we know how to get, because those guys have bad credit and debt and this and that.
He said, misunderstanding. I didn't know I had to pay my bill.
It can happen to anybody at any time, and you should not be forced to take the bus. Okay? We will get the car in your driveway. I asked them, which deals should I focus on? They said, Izzy, we're comfortable with our numbers on any car they want to drive. Approvals. They said, we'll get you a credit approval. They said, we have cars in the $200 range a month. Bako Miko Curl.
Oh, that's like the 90s.
But Saul told me the Pilot is still very well priced. The Accord's well priced. All the good stuff. The Sentra, the college students.
BMW or Sam Harris.
BMW. If you price it out, I'm sure you'll get a great price. So we want to thank our friends at Wheels to Lease for their amazing. And by the way, everybody that leases from them, they all come to me happy. I told you last week we had a story on the show. I asked the guy, called me to tell me what a great experience he had with Izzy Herman at Wheels to Lease. I said, how much are you paying for your car? He said, I don't know. I said, what do you mean? Usually people call, all they talk about, I priced it out. He said, you don't understand. I called the guy. It's so pleasant. It's so balabatish. It's so Hamish. The number sounded good. He's like, I don't even know. It's a whole new chap what Wheels to Lease is doing it. They're making the leasing business fun.
Clive, why do we forget the sponsors until so late?
Everybody knows that our sponsors are what keep the light on, and they're appreciative. They wait to hear about it. A guy tells me the only show in the world.
So interesting, we totally forgot.
A guy tells me the only show in the world that they don't stop the show and then press a pre-recorded message. Back to the show. No, the show is the sponsors, and it's not a secret. And our other wonderful sponsor today, who did we miss? We had Wheels. We had the Butcher. Right. Now we have, so we need more
sponsors.
No, we know what happened. We have 3 companies now that are fighting to be the, like when you go to a trade show.
Exclusive.
Not an exclusive.
On the mug.
We want on the mug or on the cap that we wear the entire show. We have 3 companies battling out a full year that everybody's the sub-sponsors and they're the Spitz sponsor. So how do we decide who to take for a full year?
What did we leave out? I think we covered everything. We covered growing up in Crown Heights.
Schedule. Last time about your schedule. Then I realized the sponsor.
Schedule. We covered a lot. The main thing is, I think everybody has to really feel good about themselves with what they're doing if they want to be successful. When I was on Wall Street, and I keep going back there as examples because that's 10 years of, like dog years, we say. It was 10 years for me, but it was like 30 years for somebody else. We always used to joke and say, I could pick up the phone and call somebody on a cold call, which is what we would do. And I would say, John, we're buying XYZ, stock is trading at 50, and it's going down to 30. If I have excitement in my voice, the guy's going to buy it. I can call him and say, John, there's a company called Tesla, and it's at 50, and we know it's going to go to the moon, and I think you should buy it. Even if the guy knows, because there's no excitement in your voice, he's not touching it. So they're buying you. Most people that you interact with are going to buy you. If you're excited, they're excited. So to the listeners that are listening to this, the one piece of advice is you can't go out, expect to have a productive day if all your internal problems are schlepping along with you, and then you think you're going to have a conversation with someone, and then they're not going to say, I got to get away from this person. This is like a bag of negative energy. The most important thing, and I tell this to my friends, I tell this to anybody, your problems should be like walking into a shoe closet where the entire wall has boxes of shoes. Every problem in our life is in a box of shoes. So when you're mentally prepared to go into your closet and say, I'm going to deal today with my issue that I have, which is a relationship with this and this friend that I just can't seem to figure out. That's in that box. Take out the box in my mind. I go through it. I sort of take it apart, figure out what I want to do, and I put it back in the box, and I put that box back in the closet. So I'm not carrying my baggage around with me all day long. And that goes for every problem, every challenge. Just look at it like it's a shoebox. It's in the closet. When you want to deal with it, compartmentalize is the most important thing. And then the most important piece of advice is we all have stress. Tirdas haparnasa is not exclusive to certain people. It's everybody. When you have a lot of stress, people tend to pile it all on. You said compartmentalize. And I tell people that your stress should be looked upon not as one big mountain in front of you that you're never going to be able to get through, but rather it's a pile of rocks. And your tafkid, your challenge, is to pull one rock away at a time and create a pathway for you to get to the other side. You're not going to fix the problems. You're not going to solve it. But if you create a pathway, you move. And as you move, things happen. And when things happen, good results come out of it.
This has been an incredible, incredible journey. It's 2 hours that I feel is going to have an effect on my entire life.
Wow.
I am blown away by the Chafav stuff. I thought it was going to be 90 seconds. Yeah, me, my nephew. I thought he was your brother-in-law. We went to Kazakhstan. It's beautiful. And I have so much soul searching to do about the Rebbe and his father, about the stories. Your advice on business and partnerships and life. I am so honored that you...
This is your first chaffa that you're not working 9 to 5.
The first time in like my entire life that it could happen. And
Let's go.
I'm definitely going to look into this.
But they pay influence. You don't have to do.
Stop with the paying influences.
No,
It's something
not
I
even
would
that.
invest money in.
So I know in the past.
His whole life changed. He had another child. You money, what's it, $2,000? I'll write a check, right to Gefahren. Today it's a Zell. It's so quick. What do you think about this phenomenon with money? There used to be checks in the mail. Today the guy at Shluchim, they're standing there with credit card machines. You better give them, it's like everything is so fast.
Could we touch on one thing you mentioned, Shluchim? I think that we have a big challenge in Crown Heights, and you have that challenge everywhere in every other community, but primarily in Crown Heights because we're part of the Chabad Global Network. Do you have an idea of how much money goes out from Crown Heights to organizations and institutions outside of Crown Heights? And if you do know approximately what that number is, which I think is in the millions,
Of course,
minimum,
millions.
millions and millions of dollars goes out. Many shluchim come to Crown Heights. And in my opinion, and I'm just giving you my opinion, I think that a shliach should turn to Crown Heights for seed money when he goes out, which is fine. Or, everybody gets that phone call. A lot of people get that phone call. I'm going out. Great, with greatest pleasure. But if you're out there for a year, you should not be coming back to Crown Heights asking for help. Crown Heights has way too many causes and needs for us to be supporting outside of state, outside of Crown Heights organizations. And I'm sure people are going to feel differently, and they're entitled to. But I've spoken to a lot of people, and people are very passionate about this idea that we should not be the charity box for global, charity that should constantly come back to Crown Heights. I think Crown Heights has to stand on its own 2 feet. Like Israel wants to cut off American aid because
I saw that 60 Minutes interview in Netanyahu.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I mean, who would have thought that after October 7th, Israel would come out as probably the third or maybe the fifth strongest country in the world, most powerful. So you got to be independent. You got to be on your own 2 feet. And Crown Heights needs to take that approach. So anybody listening that gives and supports, very much ashrechem that you give and that you support, but also Crown Heights, ani ircha koidem, we have to take care of our own. There's nobody.
Give
I
to
always
the garbage
tell.
fund. Give to the garbage
It's not
fund.
the garbage fund.
You just quoted a halacha in Shulchan Aruch.
Right.
It says it's not even your feeling. Nobody can argue. It says aniye ircha koidmin.
Right.
If a girl or boy school in Crown Heights can't pay their bills, it's their rebbes that are not going to get paid, and they need a building fund to build for new classrooms. By the way, I was at a dinner for a yeshiva in Crown Heights. I'm not going to say their name. I don't know. I've started name dropping. I do a little bit too much name dropping. I was at an event, a young social for a yeshiva in Crown Heights. And a guy got up from the mic and he had like a big PDF file, a spread, what do you call it, a video presentation, file, clicking, whatever. And he said that we get accused of buying properties and being whatever. He says, Chevre, if we don't buy more properties for tens of millions of dollars, we don't have room for your children to be in a classroom in a few years from now.
100%.
So we're going to go support a mikveh in Timbuktu, and our kids won't have a classroom.
To me, a mikveh Timbuktu, I want to say the most openly Satmar collaboration with Chabad houses is they sponsor mikvahs in Timbuktu, Mikveh USA. And
Mikveh USA, yeah.
and
They
the
give
other
like,
one like Harenu,
There's
whatever.
there's a lot of giving that goes on to Chabad houses from our neighboring communities, Williamsburg, Borough Park. They have a lot of.
Lakewood.
First of all, Lakewood for sure. First of all, they happen to go there and visit, so they benefit from the physical aspect of having a shul, a minyan, kosher, etc. Second of all, they support the institutions. They are in awe with the Chabad network. We're like Tesla versus everybody else is driving a Camry. And I joke with them. I say, I have to defend Chabad. Are you nuts? I'm the guy with a Tesla. You're the guy with a Camry. And you're telling me that you feel that your Camry is better. It's not even a question.
Right? I just want to say that you also said a few minutes ago that if you call someone with passion, they're going to give you. So I think if the local charities would have some passion, perhaps they would do better on their selling. I'm just going to tie into what you said. So if a shliach who is friend, his cousin, he supports him every year because his nephew's sending text messages, wishing him good Shabbos, sending him flowers, flying him out, showing him this project, that project. What's going to happen is they're going to get more money than the little, small charity in Crown Heights who doesn't have the glitz and the glamour and the attention that the shliach has, because not all shliachim are busy all week, Shabbos have to work.
That's changing. There's a yeshiva in Crown Heights that one of their top fundraisers started investing in me years ago. I was making a couple of bucks an hour. When they send the notes on, he says, my personal Gvir Yisrael.
You know what's going to happen?
He's going to want to cash
So
out.
I think money flows to wherever the excitement and the passion is, like you said, whether it's tzedakahs, whether it's an investment. If there's no passion, if the local charities are, and no one even knows that you did this garbage fund, unless, you text them or they're in one of the Crown Heights stores.
That's
So if you're on, I promise you, Sam, if you would be doing daily videos showing all your garbage cleanup on Kingston, I'm just saying, with the passion, you'll be raising millions of dollars a year for your garbage fund.
we don't need anything close to that. We're not even.
I'm
raising
just
money.
I'm just
What
tying into
I
what you're
understand.
saying, Sam.
What
So
I would say
you
is,
say theoretically it's good for Crown Heights. Whoever gives you love, whoever gives you attention, whoever gives the passion will get the goods.
I'll tell you the benefit of telling tough love. Somebody from out of state calls you or writes you or whatever it is. So you could choose to either
Hold on.
respond.
On the other hand, Crown Heights makes a lot of money from shluchim. My sister runs the Airbnb all year long. If not for the shluchim, she wouldn't make all the money.
So that's
And the restaurants make money from the guests and tourists.
Again,
So there is a circuit. You're saying it's all one way. I would say shluchim bring a lot of money into Crown Heights. His wife manages the Airbnb. She makes money. He makes money.
You're bringing up a few industries that benefit, but the majority of people in Crown Heights
It's
are
one way.
We're not in the commerce
It's
business.
mostly one way. Let's be
Here's
real.
what's going to happen. When you don't, if people stop giving the way they're giving to these out-of-state, out-of-Crown Heights organizations, you're not hurting them. You're forcing them to go to their own people, their own community, maybe a little bit outside their comfort zone, but you are going to create opportunities for them that they would not have gone through had you not said, no, you need to go to your own community. You're there long enough. They should support you. Everybody has to be self-sufficient.
Shmuel,
What happens is it can open up major gifts and major donations and buildings, etc. Because the guy said, okay, you know what? Now I got to go to my own community.
I don't
So
disagree.
Shmuel, I have
In
a
theory, I
yeah.
love what you're saying, but just know wherever love and passion is, that's what we're going to get.
Shmuel, I have a proposition to make.
Sure.
I have a feeling if you would have went on shluchas 33 years ago with your lovely wife, you would have had the biggest Chabad house with the biggest day camp,
doubt in my
with the
mind.
biggest day camp, with the biggest preschool.
I would have crushed it.
Right.
I would have crushed
You
it.
should probably tell.
Problem is I'm not a dugma chaya for the
I have an idea. I have an idea.
Chaya, I'm not a dugma
I have an
chaya.
idea. I have an idea. It's about Ma'aseh B'Poel. A guy told me that's involved in the Rebbe Sichos that the word that the Rebbe used over 50, 60 years more than Mashiach is Ma'aseh B'Poel. What's going to come out Ma'aseh B'Poel? I know you can't be on the phone with shluchim all day long, but if there's shluchim that are struggling with fundraising, okay? Shluchim that out of the 5,000, 6,000, there's shluchim that are struggling with fundraising, and that's why they probably have to lean on Crown Heights as a crutch. What happens if the guys in the Heiche Fensters, Rabbi Krinsky, Rabbi Kedlarsky, what happens if we let them each give you a file of 5 shluchim that are having a hard time fundraising, and you do a mentorship program.
There's a guy that does this already.
Wait. I don't want to hear. I don't even want to know because then I encroached on his territory. What happens if, let's say, you'll give a half an hour a week to 10 shluchim?
If you email him,
Wait,
happy to
we're
help
gonna
or
do-
give
no,
advice
I
all day
want
long.
something Ma'aseh
He said he'll
B'Poel.
stop everything, makes him feel so good.
Can I get my 30 seconds in?
Everybody
Wait.
will give that advice.
Sam, if I have Rabbi Krinsky and Rabbi Ketlarsky each give you a file of 5 names, and you'll do a once-a-week Zoom mentorship program with 10 shluchim, and you'll teach them how to go
said
from...
5, you're going up to
no,
10.
each one will give 5 names. From
You
rag...
said 5, you went up to 10. It's like the girl that goes to her father and says, Dad, I need $50. I'm going to the mall with my friends. His father says, $40. What do you need $30 for?
You ready? 10 shluchim. You'll do a mentorship program. They'll have to come 5:30 in the morning when you're up. You can't...
Okay, I get it.
Wait. And you'll give them a mentorship program on how to properly fundraise because some of them don't know how to fundraise.
So I'm going to answer you. First of all, that program exists, and I know exists, and I've seen it in action, and I think it's doing pretty well.
I hope Mashiach comes, take it from Miyad Mamish. We get out of this Govos, even though it's like we're living in Geula with the Montebello and the Evergreen. By the way, shout out to Levi Goldstein. I just want to say Levi Goldstein was invited to come on the show, and he refuses to come on the show. What do you think about that?
I think you have to pay him.
All right, Levi, we mentioned your name. Hatzlacha.
Shout out to
Golden.
Levi.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you. Hatzlacha.